times like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. If all the things you never show, there are the things I want you to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Losing almost all my energy. It's getting hard to talk to you, and I'm the only one who speaks. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets start in your heart to slow. But if you don't want to tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Here we go.
Okay, hey guys, welcome to our live today. Today's Friday. Okay, so I don't normally do a live in the afternoon typically. Typically it's always done at nighttime, but I'm going to be going to my twins' house tonight. And so I thought I would do one this morning or this afternoon. 12:21 here. So I'm on the Pacific coast of Western Canada in the Vancouver area. And Charmaine, she would be here, but she was going for a drive to Vernon today, and so I hadn't let her know that I was doing one. So if she happens to join us during this live, but I'm not sure. But either way, you guys, thank you guys for watching. And of course, before we get started into today's live, if you guys don't mind, of course, hitting that like and the share button as you come on into this channel. For the cases of Lily and Jack, we're going to be talking about Dylan Ehler as well. And as well, we're going to bring up, of course, Sebastian Rogers. Now, Sebastian Rogers is out of the United States in the Hendersonville area of Tennessee, a missing child's case that this channel has followed since day one. And again, today we're going to go over Lily and Jack, of course, the timeline again for anyone that doesn't know of this case that comes across the channel and learns about Lily and Jack, Dylan Ehler, and Sebastian Rogers. So always very important to keep that out. Now, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Daniel has a Pokemon channel. That's Daniel Martell. And of course, he's the stepfather. And Malaya is the mother of these missing two children, Lily and Jack. So anyways, we're going to go over a few different things I got for today's live anyway. So again, please hit that like and the share, guys. And hope you guys are having a good day so far. And again, missing children, such sad cases, always, doesn't matter which case it is, anything that involves children and adults too. But children, I'm sorry, not to take away from the adults, but children are precious little golds. You know, when we give birth to them and have them and stuff like that, it's our job to try to protect them, of course, as best we can, bring them up with proper morals and values. And it's our job to give them a healthy and loving and safe environment. Now, it doesn't mean to say that, of course, that things don't happen, that kids don't get out, perhaps. You know, we all know that sometimes kids, if there's a pool in the backyard, you can turn your head in the blink of an eye and disappear, kind of like what happened in Dylan Ehler's case. The grandma was watching him and went to go tie up the dog, and then poof, gone. Other cases are more suspicious cases, of course, and where you think that there's, because a lot of times there is parent involvement or someone that's known to the family that usually a lot of times is part of it. We see these cases all the time. Anyways, children depend upon their parents 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Children are a product of our environments. Whoops, I hear a fire truck going by. Anyways, so we'll get started here. And well, actually, so Lily and Jack's case, and we'll come back to this in a moment. And of course, but let me bring to stage of right here. And again, hey everyone that's coming in. So this is wanted. So please help bring me home. Now, there's something about boots. I'll tell you with these two cases. Now they're both like out of the Nova Scotia, like Pictou area, like um, Malaya and her mom and that, like they're from Truro, Nova Scotia, and that's where Dylan's case is out of, is Truro, Nova Scotia. But this is Jack and Lily's boots, and then of course in this sad picture, this is Dylan's boots right here, and it's so hard when you see these little tiny puddle jumper boots, of these children, because you can see them just kind of hopping around in the water or the mud or whatever, jumping around. And again, I just, when I seen like you got the boots for Lily and Jack's case, and of course the boots that all that was found of Dylan's. And with this case here with Dylan's, this happened in 2020 on May 6th. Okay. So pretty much, Lily and Jack is May 2nd of 2025. Dylan's case is from 2020, May 6th. And they're going to be doing a new search for that. Hi, Sharon Parker. How are you? So, I mean, like I said, they're just so precious. And I'm sure the parents are grateful in Dylan's case that they are going to be doing a new search, because let me put it this way, okay? Dylan's boots for Dylan. The only thing that they found was his boots near, uh, some water. Not I can't think of if it was a lake or a pond, like uh, one of those things. Um, and it's kind of like so sad when you have to sit there and see that there's just only boots, but there's literally no body. So why is there boots and no body? Now, I the little bit that I, in a sense, know of this case, because it's just been brought to my attention recently, parents that are guilty, they would have went with the storyline that fell in the water, can't be found, you know, and they wouldn't be pressing for a search. They wouldn't be pressing for that they don't believe that he just, went in the water and was never seen again, type of thing. If someone had any um, idea that they did something to their own child, trust me, they would have let it lie at the fact that he was missing in the water, and they wouldn't be fighting for it. So that's just ridiculous to think, of course, um, that the parents had anything to do with the disappearance of this child, because they would have just let the story lie and not been fighting for it, right? Um, in Sebastian Rogers' case, which we'll talk about here for a second as well. Sebastian Rogers disappeared in 2024 on February 25th. Now, Sebastian Rogers' case is one that can easily be deemed as suspicious, because there's nothing. The last person that he was with was his biological mother. Apparently, the stepdad was working away in Memphis, Tennessee, over there, about 3 hours away. But basically, Sebastian Rogers, he had this, what some might deem as the Last Supper. When a child that's high autism, on the spectrum there, and then they basically, the mom saying, fun fact, made spaghetti pancakes for breakfast, and then, like, who says fun fact during an interview? There's things like that are just strange to me, when somebody says, like, fun fact, you know your child's missing, and you want to put in there about yourself, fun fact, It's one thing to say that, I made him some pancakes this morning. Then we went off to BJ's that morning. Then we went to the bowling alley. Then we went to Texas Roadhouse for dinner. Then we came back home. Like this day seemed packed from start to finish. Now, Seth Rogers is a biological dad. Again, we talk about this case every live. He's been searching, bringing up his YouTube channel diligently, what we would deem as the true signs of a parent that is devastated beyond repair, that they just cry pretty much on every still interview that they do because the memory of their child and the picture of his face is always ingrained in their thoughts as they're doing it. And he's been proactively, to this day, over a year later, doing everything that we would expect a parent could do, in hopes of looking for the son. Keep bringing it out to the public because you never want the case to dwindle down, even though inevitably a lot of times they do. But some cases, like Lily and Jack's, like Sebastian Rogers, they make it to that small percentile where they catch the attention of like a nation. And again, so if anyone has information to do with any of the cases, obviously reach out to 1-800-222-TIPS, which is Crime Stoppers. And his story actually was recently featured on, I don't think it's called America's Most Wanted for this particular one, but it's like with, I was thinking about grade 7 when they sat us down and we watched the Adam Walsh story from back when a pedophile, lured Adam Walsh in with candy into his van. They ended up finding him. I'm not going to get into the gross part of that. But then, of course, his dad, has been doing tons of shows and has been doing America's Most Wanted forever and a day. And now his son, I think, what's his name? Calhoun, something like that, is like stepping in his, doing it together with his dad. And so to see that it was on, I know it's not called America's Most Wanted they've given it a different title, but anyways, again, it's really nice when stories can really hit the internet, the algorithm, and keep awareness out there. Hi, Faded Scars. How are you? You got a bad headache? Support with Steph in the house? Hey, Sunny, working and listening to you. Okie dokie. Yeah. So, well, what should I do first? I got a few things like going on here. So as I said, Daniel has a YouTube channel. Maybe let's just start off with that. Okay. So I happened to hear it when I was on, I think the name of the channel was Behavior Linguistics. Now, I don't usually follow him because if I'm not mistaken, he's one of those, how there's the psychic tarot readers and blah, 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 blah. But I believe he's like numbers. He does like numbers and stuff like that. I believe, but I feel like he changed his name. But anyways, and then I was like, wait a sec, what? So I, of course, looked myself and yep, there it was. Now, I can't knock a guy, honestly, that likes Pokemon. But let me just bring that up here. At this stage. Come on. Before presenting a screen, remove other media. Oh, it's telling me to remove other media. Fine. Let's see here. Remove. Okay, 1 second. Let's see here. So I hadn't shared a video through this way of StreamYard before, so I wasn't used to it saying that. So I'm like, wait, what? Okay. But let's go to that for a second. We'll make the screen bigger. Now, so his name is Daniel Martell. Again, the stepfather of missing Lily and Jack. Sorry. Hi, Allie. I know, right? Total different time zones there. I know. It's very rare that I ever do one during the daytime, unless I'm off, and on vacation or something like that. Anyways, don't forget, welcome you guys. Please hit that like and the share, you guys, of course. But anyways, so um, the reason I'm going to play a little bit of this, not too much, but I'm just going to play a little bit of it just so that you can hear Daniel's voice, not during the searches and whatever, just so you can just listen to how he talks and how he sounds. His channel is simply Pokemon stuff, and like I said, can't knock it. My son, like Daniel's 33 years old, so his Pokemon is from 5 years ago and 4 years ago. Okay. Now, probably I wouldn't doubt maybe he doesn't spend as much on it. Who knows how actively he's still into the Pokemon. My son, he's 28. He buys his Magic deck cards when Matthew was 5, which is my son's name. I bought him the Raiders deck. So he has like the Yu-Gi-Oh deck, like the first edition, all in his little albums and stuff like that. And my son, like I said, I think he only stopped spending money on the Magic decks. Those things are really expensive. And I remember I was at a flea market one day, and me and my twin were like selling crafts. And beside us was a guy that had all these Pokemon cards, and it was like $10. And anyway, so I bought like hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon cards, and I still actually have the red and white Pokemon bag. I think it's red, white, and black with the ball on it. But anyways, so to me, for me personally, anyone who's a gamer kind of understands that doesn't matter if you're 28 or 33, that these things, it's kind of like, okay, we all know that men don't age till about 35, first of all, okay? But men are truly big kids in so many ways. And a lot of men love their gaming and whatever it is, like I said, Pokemon, Pikachu here. I remember Pikachu because this was during my son's time, right? Always watching Pokemon stuff. But anyways, let me let you guys listen to a little bit of Daniel here.
Not just one, but two Detective Pikachu boxes. And well, without further ado, let's get into them, I guess. These come with 4 promo cards. One beautifully sculpted Detective Pikachu figure standing on a magnificent magnifying glass. How nice. Here we go. We get a decent amount of booster pack. There's the promos right there. I guess I'll pop those out for you guys so you get a good chance to see them. Only gonna go over them once because there's a Bulbasaur. There we go. Pretty cool. There's that Pikachu looking through a magnifying glass. There's a Snubble. Looks pretty mad. And what else do we have here? We actually have a Psyduck. Looks like he's singing or something. Well, let's get into some of these booster packs here. Oh, let's not forget the little Pikachu. He's pretty cool. Standing on that magnifying glass. Huh. I'll set him right here. He'll be the little mascot here. All right, we got...
Again, we're just going to watch this a little bit, listening to his voice, okay, guys?
Card.
This is Daniel Martell, the stepfather.
Everybody likes those. Looks like we have 3 packs of Detective Pikachu. 4 cards in each pack.
Okay. That's good. Okay. So that is Daniel Martell, 148 subscribers. Sorry, Daniel, not subscribed. Anyways, this is from 4 or 5 years ago, as I said. 1 second here. So Daniel Martell, 3021. Please don't go on his YouTube channel and leave nasty messages, on that. At the end of the day, do I feel like Daniel and Malaya are, these horrible, rotten people? In a sense, no, I don't. We don't know what happened to Lily and Jack. Um, but uh, seeing, regardless of the situation of what's going on, he has a very nice voice, in a sense, meaning nothing that's, I mean, he's doing a video, obviously, but, you know, kind of like how he's talking in his interviews, somewhat, you know, I'm just like trying to relate that here is, a stepfather that has his own child, Meadow, with Malaya, and then Lily and Jack. Um, do I believe that they purposely self-inflicted harm on these children, if at all they had anything to do with the disappearance of Lily and Jack? No, like this is a guy who obviously can relate to children, probably really adores children, um, but could have something have happened and it was a cover up, potentially. Um, could they have been abducted? Potentially. Could they still be out in the woods? Potentially. We just simply don't know. Now, Malaya's interview, we all know, is regardless, is really strange. Tons of red flags, tons of things to make you think that somebody is telling a story, that they're not actually reacting on emotions of someone, of two children that are missing. Just very odd in how it all sounds. It doesn't sound what I would call genuine or authentic. It comes off as something that was talked about and contrived, is how I see it. A lot of other people see it that way as well. Again, obviously the RCMP, the Major Crime Scene Unit, they're working on this, and the truth is going to come out regardless about it. So let me just quickly take a look at your comments, and then we'll go on from here. So again, please don't go. I really, honestly, I'm going to just say this. I cannot stand it. And I think it's very unadult-like when, what message is coming in? Hold on. Oh, new photo memory. I think it's very immature and ignorant when people go to people's Facebooks, or to channels, and then they just start bashing, like basically blaming and accusing. So it's one thing to talk about it, about, our opinions and stuff like that. But I think it's so immature to literally message people's private messengers to basically sit there and say, we know what you did with the children. Just tell us the truth and blah, 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 or go on the attack without even knowing. Well, because we don't know what happened to them. So I'm just going to say this, always do what you would want to have happen to you. If this was you, would you want all these nasty messages coming in? So, just recommend, it's not very nice to sit there and go to people's channels and personally start attacking people, or Facebooks and stuff like that. Attacking the mother, the stepfather, the mother of Malaya, all the different people. People do this. I see it happen in the Summer Wells case. You see it happen in Sebastian Rogers' case, et cetera, et cetera. You see it happen all the time. And it's just like, that was really ridiculous in the Summer Wells case. They even went on the 16-year-old boy's Facebook. And the things that these adults are saying is just ridiculous. So I have no desire to do that stuff myself. I don't even think to do that. Even when Malaya's Facebook came up on it, I never said anything that I just sent a message basically saying, I can't even remember what I said, to be honest now. She took it back down because I noticed it said Facebook user now instead of Malaya Brooks Murray. But it was just, basically prayers for you, the children. I hope that they're found. Our answers come soon, something like that, right? Not You know, I know what you did with these children. You're guilty, guilty, guilty. Stuff like that. Um, Take it after adding it up. 60 hours missing. Right. From Tuesday afternoon, Friday till 10 a.m. Still uneasy. Gairloch Brook Falls and Crossroads in Church behind the property, not within Sierra. I noticed that Pat Brown, if nobody knows who Pat Brown is, she's like a criminal profiler as well. And she did a live on it yesterday, or a video on it yesterday, I believe it was, you know, basically saying the same things that we're all saying. You don't really need to be a criminal profiler to understand an interview and see when something is off and something doesn't sound right to the ear. I don't need a freaking plaque on the freaking back of my wall telling me that. You know, most people that have common sense, you know, can literally watch this interview and see that it's just off. You know, that there's many things to that interview, the wording, and I tell him, meaning I tell Daniel, who says that? I tell him, do you hear the kids? What do you mean? There are so many things that make this seem like it was a contrived story, and we don't know. Chances are, you know, if the kids did disappear and it was at the hands of a family member, hypothetically, allegedly, I don't honestly believe that it happened on the Friday. Then, if that's the case, because you have, from when the bus driver dropped them off, we have not heard Daniel or anyone else or Malaya talk about the fact that the mother of Daniel lives on the property. And I can't confirm about the brother, if Justin Martell lives on that property, but we haven't heard the mention of, you know, ran outside, you know, checked checked with my mom, the camper, we haven't heard nothing. So when we don't hear things as well, that can also mean a lot when it's not being said. Hi, Dave. Hi, Davey. Davey. Let's get that right. Good evening from Scotland. Hello, 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 hello. Kind of reminds me of Megan Boswell. You know, yeah, a lot of people are bringing up a lot of different cases that this reminds them of. And it is, because we know a lot of cases where it's just strange, you know, behavior. We can think of Maddie Soto there, you know, like the mother just seemed like oblivious from the entire planet, is really in her case. Like, honestly, I truly believe that Jennifer Soto, I honestly believe that that the Christmas light bulb doesn't shine the brightest at the top of that darn tree in her case. She just seems like she's totally oblivious and naive beyond normal. And hi, Davey. I think it's supposed to mean dive. Davey, hope you were well. Called you dive. All right, there's Sharon. Bonjour, bonjour. Hi, Joe. Sorry, I meant Davey. I know. So please see Sunny and Co. Such poor little mites. Absolutely. Hi, Kent. How are you? We just, and that's true. We do. We just, like, again, this channel is not one to embellish, try to promote, try to put on thumbnails about like breaking news, 3 pieces of items of the closing found, you know, type of thing. And there's no basis. Well, in saying that, the channel called 1111 was actually, I'll even show it now quickly, but I'm not going to play it, but I will show it. No, not video file. I didn't mean to hit video file. Share screen. Let me just quickly. Okay, this person here. Okay, so 1111 was playing this clip from this TikToker here. And it was like clothes been found in the woods, you know, apparently socks and little girls' underwear. Okay. But I'm not going to sit here and promote that information because someone underneath of it, okay, and I do have a screenshot of it, but somebody underneath of it said that the searcher Brandon Lemieux found these 3 articles, right? Now, those were found about like a week ago, but people want to jump on everything if it means somehow getting more viewers, getting more money to their channel, and stuff like that. Now, although this person underneath said that it was my cousin that led the RCMP to where those articles were, but other than that, he has no information. Okay. So again, if they are vital to the case, that will come out. But when that's not even in the news, nobody has talked about it besides YouTube channel or TikTokers or whatever. But that's really not information that I really want to promote myself, because it's like, well, where's the receipts for that? You know, if I would have seen it being said in the news that these 3 articles were found and Brandon, what's his name, Lemieux, you know, type of thing. But you guys can see her face, find her on TikTok, or go watch the 1111 channel. But other than that, not gonna sit there and really get into that and discuss it. But at the end of the day, you know, Jack and Lily are missing. We don't know what happened to them. It's very important that we keep the case out there, you know, and talk about it. We can talk about speculation and stuff like that, obviously, right? But to sit there and try to ride off of a case for self-gain and stuff like that, it's just not this channel's way. Might be other channels' way, but it's not this channel's way. Davey, I'm calling it David now. Davey, and a bit of a nuisance, as have 3 times a day, so a bit restricting, so much reporting to do, but we shall just chill tonight. Hope all is okay with you. On there, and sorry. Joe say, Hunter might know what happened to Summer and will never talk. Maybe. Summer Wells case reminds me of John Bonet's case. One that's going to go on probably forever and a day, and we may never know the answers to that case. That's how I kind of feel about the Summer Wells case. Okay. Hi, Kind Cam. I saw days ago a segment on some channel. Okay, yeah, Crime Time Buzz. Yeah, I think they said. Well, that's just false. If you're talking about Lily and Jack, Kind Cam, that's just false. Yeah. I mean, if you talk about this case here, Kind Cam, that's just, no. And people are posting, like people were posting last week, that the bodies have been found, stuff like that, or that Daniel Martell was arrested. No facts, just a bunch of bullshit, just a bunch of rumors. People spread that crap, you know, and then other people fall for that crap. And it's too bad that people have to maliciously, with intent, try to harm a case on purpose, because either they got little small penises, I don't know, you know, or they just have no brain cells and they don't care about other people. Who knows why people do the things that they do sometimes. But when, it's kind of like the show, like, you know, like, remember the documentary, like, don't fuck with cats? Well, don't fuck with children. Don't fuck with missing children, missing and the murdered. Don't do stuff like that. That's just freaking, you know what? Honestly, double hockey sticks, HE double hockey sticks for people that do stuff like that. It's cruel, it's mean, and it's just horrific that people purposely want their 15 minutes of glory, like, woohoo, I'm messing with all you idiots. Kind of like Christopher Proudfoot in the Sebastian Rogers case. You know, I'm so smart, I'm a narcissist, look at me. You know, oh, I didn't say that I took a polygraph test. Yes, you did, you jerk off. Yes, you did. Okay, but he tries to mess with people. Why would you do that? Your stepson's missing. and yet you're messing with people, you're playing games. Why would anyone do those type of things during a missing child's case? You know, we don't know why Malala is in hiding per se, isn't speaking. Who knows the true answer to that? Again, Derek from Delphi of the Libby, he never came out and spoke. You know, he let his mother and his stepdad always do the speaking, and yet he had nothing to do at all with with the murders of his daughter or Abby in the Delphi case. Is it weird? Is it something that we would do? No, but who's in her ear, perhaps, or what's truly going on? Sorry, Amy. Nope. At the end of the day, all I ever want, all I think all of us want, the people that truly care, regardless of the outcome, and you're always hoping for the best outcome, is that you just want the answers. You never want a case to ever go cold or unsolved. It's the most devastating thing that any parent, any family member, friends, whatever, can endure, is when they literally don't know where their loved one is. Sebastian Rogers' case. Imagine being a parent and just waking up. You gave birth to this child if you're the mother. Obviously, if you're the father, you didn't give birth, but you helped plant a seed. But imagine waking up and just never knowing. Every day is just like a freaking black hole, infinity that you just don't know. And you just pray for answers. My biggest heart goes out to these cases where there are no answers. And let's hope that's not the case, regardless, with Jack and Lily. If Jack and Lily are no longer with us, they're up with the angels. If they're still here with us, then they have a full-blown life to still do, I'm sure that the police have a lot of sift and chase upon. Yeah, like digital data, like everything. Like, did they go in the wrong direction? Actually, we'll get into the timeline of it again. But I want to show you guys something that I was watching the other day, okay? Let me just bring awareness to this channel if I can. Let's see here. Okay, actually, we're going to get rid of this one. I'm going to do a couple things here. We're going to stop screen, share screen. I'm just going to play this one first before anything.
Police are still looking for 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan in Pictou County. RCMP decided last Wednesday to scale back the search, but they insist they're still following every lead. Lily and Jack were reported missing more than a week ago and were believed to have wandered away from their home in Lansdowne Station. Since the initial search started, RCMP say they've covered over 5 square kilometers of heavily wooded rural terrain in the area. So far, they've received over 180 tips and interviewed 35 people, among them those closest to the children, including family. Police have spent days searching land and water, but didn't find any evidence of the children. In a statement, RCMP says they continue to work day and night, and like all Nova Scotians, want answers and want to know what happened to Jack and Lily. Police are urging anyone with information about the kids' whereabouts to reach out. Todd?
All right, Hafsara, thank you for that.
Doing the hunting?
Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so now I'm going to play this channel that I came across yesterday. It's called, what is it called actually? Merit TV Canada. Okay. And, okay, so let's give a shout out to this channel, Merit TV Canada. Perhaps if you're not subscribed to them, I'll drop the link. Well, here, let me do one thing first. Go to the channel, grab the URL, copy, and then back. And I'll play this out.
What we know is based on what the parents are saying. And if they're lying or fudging, then that means that the whole investigation and the way they focused it is based on bad information.
there's a big story that has been growing and getting more worldwide attention that's actually coming out of Eastern Canada in Nova Scotia. And there's two children that have gone missing, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, a brother and a sister, Lily and Jack, I believe their names are. Could you maybe just fill in the audience what's been going on over the last several weeks with that, and where are we at now?
Sure, happy to. Given that my originally I was CBC Fifth Estate, but then went into true crime for about 10 years. So I know that territory really well. And one of our biggest stories was the Clayton Johnson wrongful conviction, which got him out of jail after 5 years in prison for being falsely accused of murdering his wife, which he didn't do. She fell down the stairs. It's quite a famous case, which we're proud of. Same region, kind of remote Nova Scotia. Well-meaning RCMP detachments out there sort of doing the investigation, but still murder cases are really, really hard. And they require a level, I think, of experience in handling them to be really good at them. So, I think we can imagine that although the RCMP do their best and try hard and they're excellent human beings in many cases, this is a tough thing for them. And it's a story, as you just said, David, that is getting a lot of press and social media attention around the world. It was odd because I just kind of tuned into it really with big attention last week. There was a news conference I watched, and I thought it was a really weird news conference out there. When they called down the search, they didn't call off the search in the wooded area for them, but they were making it smaller. And I was watching the news conference, a couple of RCMP. There's a few more high-level trained RCMP major crimes guys there who usually really know what they're doing. And one thing I noticed about this case, which is Lily and Jack, 4 and 6 years old, who disappeared from their parents' kind of trailer property and really in the middle of the boonies in Pictou County, right? These 2 young kids just gone. And it's been, I think, 10 days now or something like that. But I noticed that there wasn't a lot of engagement by the reporters in the scrum out there, which was sort of odd. Like the police said they found a boot print, and I didn't hear a ton of follow-ups about what boot print, what size, was it his or hers? How did, where was it going? That sort of thing. So I started to get a kind of a queasy feeling about this story. I don't know what's wrong, but something in my view is really wrong. I'll give you a couple of things that have happened. And people are now pulling all of these news conferences off the internet. They're taking interviews with both of the parents who are now not living together, the stepfather and mother of the 2 missing children. She moved out almost immediately when this happened. So they're pulling off all of these interviews and putting together little investigations of their own, and some of them are pretty good. But what I can tell you about this, David, is that this is the kind of activity around a true crime story that is going to make it really, really big. One of those kind of nearly legendary things that becomes a kind of a movie of the week sort of thing, right? That's what I'm sensing. And what's weird about it is that the stories of the people involved don't make any sense. And I'll just give you a taste of my sense, and I'm just guessing, but the kids hadn't been in school for quite a few days, which is weird. They were apparently sick or something, and they hadn't been in school. And the parents claim the mother and stepfather claim, who have another child, a child that's their child, a young baby, claim that they sort of woke up and realized that Lily and Jack were gone, and they were gone. But she'd taken her backpack with her, which I thought was kind of strange. And I'm really wondering today. They initially just did this huge search in the woods. They didn't put out an Amber Alert for an abducted child, which I think was wrong. I think they should have. They couldn't have made a decision. She wasn't abducted so quickly. They should have done that. They concentrated on this really vast and very dangerous for children wooded area and got nowhere except this boot print, as far as I know. I mean, they're not really saying much more. And it kind of struck me this morning as I was looking into it, like, did these 2 kids just leave to go to school that day? Because their parents were still in bed, right? When they went missing. So I kind of wonder, did they wake up?
Well, I'll get back to that in just a second. Miss Doglover, thank you so much. Miss Doglover, she's like the longest running subscriber to this YouTube channel. She's at like 32 months. So Miss Doglover, she knows she's a special part of the family for It's a Crime and Shame. But that was a big one today. Thank you so much, Miss Doglover, for that. And I know there's certain people like Sharon Parker and Miss Dog Lover and other people that, you know, I hadn't done a live in about 6 weeks up until a few days ago, and stuff like that. People that are just very loyal to the channel and stuff like that. So we appreciate that very much. We consider this channel, for anyone that's new and watching, we consider this a family type channel, like meaning everyone's kind of like family and good people. We don't put up with, you know, people that are disrespectful. And all we want is respectable adults having conversations together. We always try to bring out the true facts about a case. And then, of course, we can talk about speculation and that, but we never try to embellish or try to deceive people with any information at all. We don't play those type of games. You don't play, you know, if you truly care about people, you don't need to play those type of games, especially when it comes to, like, you want to play those type of games on, you know, other things. But when we talk about the missing and the murdered and stuff like that, things that are just like the things that are very real and very hurtful. The true crime in itself is a very hard place to be, because it's always about death or missing children, missing adults, family members, and stuff like that. There's just stuff like that you just don't fuck with. Simple as that. But anyways, for anyone out there that is watching, I didn't opt to do a poll today, but how many people think that it is a possible abduction? Now, as we listen to the rest of this channel here, which I came across yesterday, and I'll put the link there in case you're not subscribed, perhaps consider subscribing. Yeah, support with Stepha, but support with Stepha, go ahead and hit how long you've been a member for. To Miss Dog Lovers 32. Charmaine's probably, let me see what yours is. Support with Stepha. Support with Stepha. She is like a gem. She is like that. Me and Charmaine always have the stink eye when it comes to people. Support with Steph is always that kumbaya. You know, everyone's innocent pretty much until otherwise. How do I check? Miss Dog Lover, tell her how to post on the thing there. I never have to do it for myself. So how long I've been a member. You get like one free one, I think, a month or something like that. Oh, which reminds me, you know what? While we're here, let me drop 5 memberships. Let me just quickly go to my own channel here. I don't think I've dropped any this month. YouTube always gives 10 to us. And so let's do that. I got to go to my own live here. Come on, let's go. Okay. Membership gifting, send 5 now. Okay. Now you're going to hear a Rickroll. Okay, so let's see here. Sharon Parker, Emmy, and Bogey, and Crafty Mama, and Sherry Harper. Those 5 people got a membership. So, of course, you guys can play with the icons. You don't have to worry about any time that there's, you know, the slow down speed, slow mode, and stuff like that. Thank you for subscribing, Canadian Gal, on there. Okay. So thank you guys. Rickroll. Rick Astley was in the channel the other day. Just saying. It's not really him, but we'll just pretend. Anyways, so I'm just going to continue to play this out, and then we'll talk about it, okay? But how many people think that the children were actually perhaps deciding to walk off to school and get abducted?
Up and say, well, we're going to go to school, and she put her backpack on, and they walked out to the road hoping for the school bus or something, and were abducted. This is all blue skying.
Yeah.
But we don't have what you really need in a true crime story. We don't have a good timeline. People have done them, but there's been a dispute about when they were first noticed missing. One of them says 8, and that's on a police audio taped call. But another timeline says they didn't notice until 10 a.m. that they were gone. So there's a whole bunch of hinky stuff in this. And because they're cute kids, because the parents are, maybe a little dicey seeming, they're not apparently together, and she's at her mother's now and not talking. It's really weird. So I think that this is going to blow up. And given how long they've been gone, the police were right to say, if they were in the woods, we think they're deceased. They wouldn't say why they thought that, but the weather was terrible. But they also didn't find any bodies either. So I think it's not going to end well. I think they're right to say that. But it's a very, very strange story that's going to have a lot of twists and turns. And the community has been very, very upset by this. I think maybe a bus driver, maybe some of the teachers might know a little bit about the story based on
right now. Sorry to interrupt, Trish. Right now, there's just a lack of evidence. There's a lack of clues that seem to be able to put anything together. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying, because I should have been more clear. It's a great question, David, because what we know is based on what the parents are saying.
Okay.
Right. What their stories about what did or did not transpire that day. And if they're lying or fudging, then that means that the whole investigation and the way they focused it is based on bad information, right? The kids could have been gone 2 days before, and maybe they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of where we stand on that. But it's morphing into a big, Nancy Grace type of Keith Morrison true crime thing, and people are really talking about it. I think the police have to be more forthcoming. They have to have a better news conference than the one they had, which, by the way, is the last thing I'll say about it for now, but opened with a land acknowledgement. Respectfully, they were there to announce that the kids were dead, and might be dead, and they spent a long time wasting time. They didn't sort of get to the point of the news conference until quite a few minutes in, and it just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
They weren't. Usually when the police announce that they think someone is deceased, they're very respectful. They do the, our hearts go out to thing. And none of that happened in that news conference. So again, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And it's just ginning up the attention for this story around the world. So, and maybe an amateur sleuth will solve it. Sometimes they do, Yeah.
Well, from what I've been able to see from it is they've had you said they pared down the search that they had been going for a while. They had over 160 searchers, including ground teams, drones, and canine units, and a very dense force from what it seems like in that area. And so despite the efforts, as you said, very few clues, very few pieces of information have actually come forth to put a proper timeline. And the child's stepfather, Daniel Martell, seems to be cooperating with the RCMP going forward. So as you said, it's going to be an evolving story. We'll keep our eye on it to see what's going, but our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers definitely go out to the family and the community as they're at the center of this horrific story. I can't imagine being a parent and having to go through that type of thing as well. But
no, it's terrible. But I 1,000% I agree with you, David. But as as somebody who's covered this stuff too, the RCMP need to be more clear, and I think more forthcoming. The idea that you clamp down on information to keep the investigation integrity intact, I think is bad, especially in a case like this.
What do you mean by clamp down on information? What do you mean by that?
Well, they haven't been very forthcoming. I could see them; they're struggling, but they haven't been very forthcoming with it. And so I feel we need more. They didn't really do a lot of. If she's out there, we need to keep the parents front and center doing these pleas. If they were kidnapped, they've got to be addressing, that stuff hasn't really happened.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they made maybe a false or a faulty assumption that the kids were in the woods at the beginning of this. And if that turns out not to be true, wow, it's a big deal, because that's where they were focused for quite a while.
You're starting off on a completely wrong trail then.
Yeah.
We're going to have to book.
Okay, so that's the end of that one. Miko, Grandma said she saw the kids on Thursday night. We've never seen anything about that we're aware of, nor has anyone ever talked about it. In fact, so do you have somewhere where that's actually like receipts for that particular comment about the grandma saying that? Because it's nothing that we've ever come across or any other channel has talked about. They're all wondering why she hasn't, and we're talking about Janie McKenzie, the grandma that lives on the property there. And sorry, Miss Dog Lover. I apparently, because she just sent me the screenshot, apparently Support with Steph isn't a fraud. She's been a channel member for 35 months. So she, as far as I know, then she's the longest running one. That's crazy. I know I could look it up if I go to certain things in my settings there, but yeah, Sport with Steph. Okay. She just wants the attention. All right. Sport with Steph at 35 months. Love you, girl. Okay. But yeah, so if you have somewhere, because other than that, there is nothing that has been said by Daniel, by Layla, unless Janie McKenzie posted that herself. Because there's you guys, I had a video just to explain. So Daniel's mother is Janie McKenzie, and Justin Martell is his brother. Now, I don't know if the brother lives on the property or not, but we know that Janie McKenzie lives in that trailer that's in the back there. And then there is Belinda Gray. Belinda Gray is Cody Lee Sullivan. That's his mom. Now, he's the biological dad, but he's not in the children's life. He's actually in Prince George, BC up here. Let me just put it this way. He robbed a guy at knife point from Marketplace. So he has a little bit of a criminal history stuff going on there. But anyways, so Belinda Gray is Cody Lee Sullivan's mom. Cindy Murray is Malaya's mom. And Joseph Henry Brooks, that is Malaya's father. Just in case you guys, hear these names. So there's kind of like 3 grandmas in a sense. Okay. Miss Dog Lover. I heard that the grandma stayed about Tuesday night as well. There was a video clip of her stating this, and I do not remember which channel. I heard that the grandmother stated about Tuesday night. Yeah. Not that. Anyways, it's nothing that I have ever seen yet. So if I do happen to come across that, but other than that, as far as I know, that, like I said, there's been nothing been said about the grandma seeing the kids, hearing the kids, anything like that. It's not been brought up out of Daniel's mouth. It's not been brought up out of Malaya's mouth about them searching and going to the camper, which, again, it depends on how you take this interview. Now, what this lady, I think her name is Trish Wood, said here was that the RCMP, they do good and, type of thing in a lot of things, but they're not being very forthcoming with information. Like the footprint mark that was found towards the end of the property with the boot mark. You never heard nothing about it. Basically, she's saying there should have been an Amber Alert put out regardless. And I believe so as well. And that the RCMP, yes, the major crimes unit's there, but, it's kind of like I said, the RCMP are good things, but they could be a lot better at, how kind of like when you watch a lot of press conferences, especially in the United States and stuff like that, how, during the press conference, they're more actively saying anyone with information come forward. And then they, were basically a lot of sympathy towards the family members and maybe an update on the boot print about any idea like that. Basically saying that they're not really doing a great job at giving the public certain information. That obviously, yes, there's certain information that you hold close to the vest that you don't give out, but then there's information that you talk about, what they've done, especially in the Brian Kohberger case, or Sheriff Brady there in Florida, when you give out so that people can stop talking about maybe perhaps certain things. And especially in the Brian Kohberger case, they would come out and they would say, look, these people have been vetted and cleared. So basically stop saying their names as if they're suspects, because they're not, right? So tell us about the boot print. Was it of any sort of value, or, was it something that, had no significant value to this case? Instead of letting certain, like, people are going to speculate regardless, and you could hit them with a brick in the head and they'll still act like it's, information, stuff like that. But what she's saying as well is, are they possibly, is there maybe this mess up where that they put all their eggs in a basket thinking that the children were in the woods, versus possibly an abduction of these children? But they didn't give any update about the boot print or anything like that, so just be more forthcoming with information. Sorry, I watched a lot of YouTube. I know, me too, right? It was said there was, okay, I think that there was maybe one article that made mention, but then there's, out of the whole thing, I think there might have been one article that put a comment in, but I couldn't find it. And so when it's not like a full-blown thing, but then there's an article by CTV News where you could tell that their information is incorrect, because they literally said that basically that Daniel changed, almost changed his story, because the way they reported it was that Daniel heard the sliding glass door and within moments. Now, honestly, there's a lot of oddities to this entire case, right? 20 minutes. How far is a 4 and 6-year-old going to go in 20 minutes? If you literally, you're talking about 8 o'clock, then you're talking about 10 o'clock, right? And you're immediately hopping into your vehicle. Malaya makes this comment about, that you can't hear the sliding glass door, so when you're saying that you can't hear the sliding glass door, okay, well then what other times did you not hear it? Because I don't believe for a second that these kids were not outside playing and they weren't attentively being watched. They live on a big, space there, and, where it's really kind of secluded, with the neighbor being, a little good distance away there, but not too far, but meaning you're talking about a yard that's kind of got a fence with an opening, and most people would let their children play in the backyard and think nothing about it, as long as they can kind of, moms start doing dishes, cleaning up the house, kids are outside playing, you can typically hear their voices and stuff like that. But sometimes it's like those moments too where kids can just disappear. They can be playing out in the front yard, the parent looks out the window, yep, there they are, goes about their thing, looks again, and then poof, gone. That's how fast, right? Things can happen. But I think most of us are under the impression that regardless, it's a strange interview. It has a lot of red flags, what one would deem as red flags, but doesn't mean that Malala and Daniel are guilty. Daniel does a lot more interviews, of course, whereas Malaya's mom, Cindy Murray, said, we were told not to do interviews by the RCMP and stuff like that. Call BS on that, to be honest with you. Again, if your child is missing, but it depends on how the person is. If the person is susceptible to listening to their elders and doing kind of what they're saying not to do, or this to do and that to do, whereas someone like me, I don't give a shit who you are. If it's my child, damn straight I'm going to be talking to anyone that wants to hear me, because I want to keep bringing awareness. Think of Dylan Round's case, right? The mother, what's her name? Can't think of her name, but whatever. She was just, didn't care, right? People always take the backlash when they go on YouTube channels and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, she kind of started limiting that, but she didn't care. She just wanted to know what happened to her son, Dylan Rounds. And she talked to whoever would, bring the story to awareness, keep the story out there. Dylan Rounds case, oh my God, if you guys don't know that one, oh my God, the idiot, the guy that is accused of killing Dylan Rounds, literally, the guy's a moron, literally recorded himself without knowing he recorded himself. So it ended up being, when they pulled the phone, that he literally is recording himself with the gun that, of course, killed Dylan Rounds. And, the you're just like talking about fucking karma on that one. Like the idiot actually recorded himself, you know, talking about how he killed Dylan. It was such a blessing in a sense. Okay, so that channel right there again was Merit TV Canada. Came across them yesterday, so if you're not subscribed to them, consider subscribing. Again, just trying to look for cases just like Sadie, the one that we played for a couple of days. Sadie's channel with her what she called the Prime Minister of Behavioral. On there, again, a smaller channel. She's got over 1,000 subs now, thanks to you guys, the people that saw that went over and subscribed to her. Because you wanna promote like people that are literally have good intent with providing information with the cases. There were two vulnerable persons alerts, and then another one was on Sunday. Let's just see here. Okay, so we'll go back over this part right here, and this is for, of course, just going back over this timeline. No, not image file. Wrong thing here. Present. Share screen. Nova Scotia. But I still got quite a few more things I want to show here as well. Okay. So Nova Scotia, 2 children are still missing. Here's a timeline of the case. Okay, so Friday, May 2nd, around 10 a.m., 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan are reported missing from their home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station, roughly 25 kilometers southwest of New Glasgow. The stepfather, Daniel Martell, told CBS News the siblings had been kept from home from school and the previous day because Lily had a cough and there was no school on that Wednesday because it was a professional development day for teachers. PD days, I always had to love those. Martell said that while he and the mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, were in the bedroom, their 1-year-old daughter, Lily, 1-year-old daughter, were in the bedroom with their 1-year-old daughter. Wow, we're talking about the 16-month-old that's named Meadow, right, which would be the sister of Jack and Lily. And Daniel is the biological father of Meadow, whereas Cody Lee Sullivan is the biological dad of Jack and Lily. Okay, so Lily came in and out several times, and Jack could be heard in the kitchen. Shortly after, they could not hear the children. Martell said he believes the children opened the sliding back door, which he said is nearly silent, and went outside. That statement bugs me because it's like, it does bug me for the fact that both of them are saying it that way, right? Like, if you're typically going to talk about a sliding door, for both parents to sit there and mention like that it was silent is strange to me personally, especially looking at that door. And if it's so silent, and then Malala makes that comment about that the door being silent, like as if to say that, like, at what other times are you saying it's silent, Malaya? Because obviously then if you know it's silent, that means either, family members came in and you didn't hear it and they spooked you, or that the children had done this, before and you didn't hear them, type of thing. I mean, it's just hard to believe that these doors are, first of all, silent, because even the most silent door, has the rolling thing, that the sound of the rolling that makes it silent, or that makes it not so silent. I've never personally had a door, because I've lived, even in this place right now, I have one of those type of doors, right? Is it silent? No, but it's not really loud either. Like, could somebody kind of rickety slide it open like that? But anyways, whenever kind of like, what I feel with this is that both people are trying to tell the same story, in a sense. And it really does come off as contrived, especially from Malaya, as she tells it, because they're so weird. So this is what happened, right? The reporter says, so what happened? And then she's like, so this is what happened. And then she makes these weird kind of remarks, and it's like she's carrying on about the children talking, that they'll talk to strangers. And it's almost like when somebody's trying to think of what, you know, it's like when I'm talking to my stepdad, um, he always has space. So I always feel like I have to fill it with air, by talking, because he always is that awkward person to talk to on a phone. And so when Malaya's talking about how the children are talking, they'll talk to anybody, they'll blah, 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 blah. It's almost like when somebody is just keeps adding to that, because in their head, they, like I said, it's a story, and they're just kind of rambling on about how much these children talk to strangers. Is she doing it because they are trying to portray an abduction? Because that's exactly what they were talking about. But I think that, like I said, them both saying about how quiet this door was and how that they had both immediately, one got in the truck, and one, like I said, called 911 immediately. And it's like, how far could a 4 and 6-year-old get in 20 minutes? Not very far. Not that far. And they have been projecting an abduction. But does that mean, like I said, that they're guilty or not? Is there an abduction possible? Perhaps. Perhaps. Is it true that Lily took her, like, how, if they all did all this immediately, I can understand not seeing the boots there, like if the boots are near the door. But I don't understand, if you are in a panic and these children are missing, are you really that much aware that the knapsack is missing as well? If you immediately got into the truck and you immediately called 911, are you really scanning, like, oh, where's Lily's, backpack and stuff like that? The boots, I can more see. The backpack, but perhaps Lily did put on a backpack. Perhaps they did go towards the thing as if they were going to be the big kids and go to school, and then start walking down the road, Is it a potential of that? Yeah. Is there going to be cameras that are seeing this? No, because they live in such a rural place that even the couple homes that are near them are buried in the bushes, basically, right? So the only other person that would see them is perhaps, a vehicle that might have been caught on some camera way this way or way before. Who knows? Who knows exactly how this will all turn out, to be honest with you. Okay, so going back to the timeline here. So at 12:25, RCMP issue a news release notifying the public about the missing children and ask anyone, of course, with information to come forward. I'm just going to kind of go through this more quickly here. At 4:55 p.m., the Mounties issue an update saying that the search is ongoing and ask for the public to stay away from the area. They issue the vulnerable missing persons advisory. Saturday, May 3rd, volunteers search throughout the night. More than 100 people are involved in the search. At 5:56, Nova Scotia RCMP issue a wider missing persons alert in Pictou, Colchester, and I always struggle with this word because it's like, it reminds me of the word anti and anguish, but it's Antigonish. That's a strange name. And on Sunday, May 4th, search continues for the missing children. The stepfather says he wants authorities to monitor the borders, basically, in case the children were abducted. RCMP Curtis McKinnon says 160 searchers are looking for the children despite the challenging rain. Monday, May 5th, police and rescue agencies continue to search for the children 24/7. 4 drones with thermal imaging are used at night for heat signatures. Tuesday, May 6th, so we're talking 4 days now since the timeline that the parents gave of when these children disappeared. 5 days since the children were reported missing, a Nova Scotia RCMP spokesperson says that the case remains a missing persons case. And who in chat? Daniel works 1 day a week. What day did he work on again? No, the rumor hasn't been confirmed about the party. I honestly am not holding out hope about this party, to be honest with you, because Again, somebody would have come forward. Somebody would have slipped it off to a YouTube channel, and they would have instantly, of course, been on that like flies to shit for sure. But anyways, we haven't heard anything from anybody about this party. So if people were there, so unless it was all family members who all stick together like freaking glue, perhaps, but we would have heard something in the YouTube true crime community had anyone got information from somebody, but we've heard nothing at all. So I'm not really holding my breath on that one, to be honest with you. It still might be true, but there's no confirmation of it, and nothing has surfaced to even suggest that there is, besides that one post that we saw. Wednesday, May 7th, 2 p.m., Nova Scotia announced the search for the missing kids is scaled back. He says searchers have covered the heavily wooded 4 square kilometer area, roughly the size of Halifax downtown, and the teams will be returning to areas previously searched. The child's stepfather tells CBS News he's exhausted. Well, I'm running out of breath here just talking here. I need a drink. The Nova Scotia RCMP on May 8th pack up their command center. The children's stepfather tells CBC News that he spoke with the investigators from the major crime unit at the Stellarton RCMP detachment earlier in the week. He says he willingly handed over his phone to police, and investigators have searched the home. Martell says he also asked for a polygraph test, but RCMP declined to say whether a polygraph would be administered. RCMP underwater search team searches bodies of water in the Lansdowne Station area. Meanwhile, of course, the makeshift memorial is taking shape near the Stellarton RCMP detachment, where the community are laying stuffed animals and flyers, like what I put on the thumbnail. Friday, May 9th to Monday, May 12th. On May 9th, RCMP underwater teams continue to search bodies of water. On May 12th, a supportive community drop-in event is held in Nova Scotia, Health and West River Fire Hall. According to the Nova Scotia Health, 17 families attended the event, where school plus facilitators led children-friendly activities and crisis outreach. On health promotion, staff are at hand to offer support and resource navigation. At 3:04 p.m., RCMP issued a news release correcting the spelling of Lily's name. The agency had previously been spelling her name as Lily. Okay, so now we finally got that cleared up, because I noticed it. I always spell it as Lill, because that's the way I've seen the family members spelling it. And so, but a lot of people were spelling it the other way. So at least they nominal, but they cleared that up. The children have now been missing for 12 days. At 12:54, Nova Scotia RCMP issued a release saying that they are continuing the investigation. Police also confirmed that the other underwater recovery team searches the lakes of Lansdowne Station on May 8th and 9th, but did not uncover any evidence. That there's 180 tips and 35 people to conduct. No update. May 14th, Nova Scotia RCMP confirmed again that there's no evidence to suggest that the children were abducted. May 15th. Friday, May 16th, which is today. It's now been 2 weeks since the children were reported missing. Kevin McLean of Colchester Ground Search and Rescue says in an interview that the search will resume Saturday at the Lansdowne for volunteers from multiple search and rescue teams. A plan is being prepared to define the search area, says McLean. So that's basically where this case sits at this moment. Again, I mean, we can keep talking about how odd the interview that Malaya gave, and stuff like that, or speculation on Daniel Martell's knowledge or stuff like that. But we truly don't know regardless of our feelings, we truly don't know at this moment what exactly did happen to these children. It doesn't look good by no means, but a prayer of hope, and a miracle that the children are perhaps being held somewhere. It just doesn't look good. That's the bottom line of it, to be honest with you. But you always try to hold out hope until you're told differently. It really doesn't look good for that. Okay, what else was there? Is there anything else? Okay, so we went over. So like I said, Daniel Martell has a YouTube channel. It's just Pokemon from 4 and 5 years ago. You can hear his voice on there. So you guys can, like I said, look up that channel. We pretty much discussed everything going on there. And let's see here. Oh, I did want to show you guys this from the other day. I didn't show it yesterday because we were just running out of time. If you put it in there to coincide with the story, I'd have to see what probably you were saying before. May have been a more business meeting than a party. Just could have been some family and friends, like our family, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, they have a few junk things in their yard anyway, you know. Who knows? Who knows? Again, it's just, you know, there was a post that said that the neighbor or something, they deemed it as a crack house, like a lot of vehicles and stuff like that. Who knows? Who truly knows? Okay, so anyone watching, of course, please hit that like and the share button. Keep these cases out there. We're going to move on actually to Dylan Ehler's case. He's from the same area. He's out of Truro, Nova Scotia. His disappearance was in 2020 on May 6th. And, oh, but no, before we get into that one, sorry, you guys, I'm going to play that video that I was going to play last night. As we were kind of having a discussion about this, and I remember watching a video. So is it here? Where is it? Here. Stop screen. We were basically talking about I think it kind of derived from someone saying, can Malaya say be arrested on a reservation type of thing? Bottom line is yes, it's federal. But we ended up talking about it a bit. But I remember last week as I was watching this particular video, it was just kind of to do with about the drugs, because you know, apparently, of course, a lot of drugs, trafficking, typical stuff, and I hate to say that, but typical stuff. But this was about the dispensary and the police on the reserve. So I'm just going to play this. This is like a random kind of side thing.
A raid on a Mi'kmaq-run cannabis store in southwest Nova Scotia. Drugs and weapons seized by the RCMP.
We're talking organized crime.
Arrests made, charges laid. This is part of a province-wide crackdown. This is the latest front in the fight over Indigenous treaty rights.
No, don't touch me. Don't touch me.
These cannabis dispensaries have been popping up across First Nations in this province. The Mi'kmaq call them truck houses, in keeping with Indigenous trading posts of old. The Indigenous operators believe a nearly 300-year-old treaty gives them the right to sell cannabis, hashish, and magic mushrooms. But police say the situation has opened the door to organized crime.
This whole issue is coming to a head now because of this man, Jason Popick. He's a new RCMP superintendent in the area, determined to lead the crackdown.
Canada has created laws that everyone within Canada has to abide by. They are committing a crime and they're profiting off of a crime. I investigate criminals and I stand up to bullies.
As the RCMP in Nova Scotia see it, by law, only the provincial government can sell cannabis in the province.
So this is your store. This is where the police raided it?
Yep.
But operators like Laurie Dory on the New Ross 20 Reserve will have none of that.
They took a pry bar here and pried the door, but they couldn't get the deadbolt open, so they smashed this casing off completely.
And your stock on the shelves, what happened?
The RCMP took every bit of it. All of the cannabis, all of the CBD.
But you were back in operation pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, we was back in operation the next morning.
Busted, but right back selling cannabis and hashish cheaper and with no tax, because he says it's his treaty right to do so.
The 1752 treaty give us the right for moderate living and stuff. And, you know, like we was trading. It's all trade. Like they was smoking something in the pipes. You know what I mean? Besides tobacco.
The 1752 Peace and Friendship Treaty between the British Crown and the Mi'kmaq people speaks of free liberty of hunting and fishing as usual, and a truck house, along with the liberty to sell skins, feathers, fowl, fish, or any other thing they shall have to sell. But Superintendent Popick has his doubts about whether the treaty applies.
The fact that cannabis was introduced to Canada in about 1930, it's not origin within Canada. It's relatively new to our scene. I cannot see that ever being part of a treaty from the 1700s.
Well, I think the police are engaging in some amateur botany.
Okay, I just have to stop it right there. The minute I seen this guy's hair, I lost my shit. It's like he stuck his finger in a freaking light bulb socket. And as soon as I even saw this guy on here, I'm sorry, just being judgmental a little here, I was like, dude, really? Freaking, these little fucking talons coming off the top of his head. Okay, that was just me being. Anyway,
I obviously disagree on their scientific assessment.
Jack Lloyd is a lawyer with a specialty in cannabis law in Canada. He says Indigenous rights should not be frozen in time, but rather evolve.
My view is that it doesn't really matter whether this dispute over the botanical classification of cannabis and whether Indigenous peoples have engaged with it since time immemorial or not. The question becomes, have they engaged with it, and has it become a part of their society and traditional activities, and is it being exercised? And certainly as a charter principle, it is, as lawyers would describe it, a living tree. So my view is that the position taken by the RCMP relies on an outdated view of the law.
And about that moderate livelihood?
So you're selling enough product to provide wages for 6 people? 6 people, yeah. That's pretty lucrative business then. Yeah, yeah. It is, you know what I mean? You don't get to eat crap dinner every day.
But Popick argues it's ultimately not a moderate livelihood. It's helping organized crime.
I believe that organized crime is using the treaties and the people the very small percentage of people within the community as nominees.
Organized crime is using the treaties as cover.
That's what I believe, yes.
Popick believes for this reason the police are justified in shutting down the dispensaries.
There are 2 different groups that signed that treaty. My treaty rights are to be able to live on this land unmolested. And reciprocally, I cannot molest other people. The Treaty of 1760 stipulates that you will not traffic in any goods with the enemies of the crown, the King of England. I look at organized crime as an enemy of the Canadian people, an enemy of the crown. And the Treaty of 1760 says you will not do that. I think what we did was correct and needed to be done.
Dory says organized crime is not involved. His cannabis is coming from a Mohawk reserve. He calls it a nation-to-nation transaction. And Dory's chief and others want the police to back off.
Because it's like this, I'm just not going to lay down. I ain't doing it.
I think that there's no evidence whatsoever of any organized criminal involvement in this. What they have are Indigenous peoples, after centuries of hardship, engaging in moderate livelihoods with a substance that has become or has always been a part of their traditional customs and trade. It's not organized crime.
The province says it's now working with Mi'kmaq leadership to allow legal cannabis stores to be authorized and regulated and controlled by the province in Indigenous communities. In the meantime, the charges stand.
Effectively, there will likely be a case that will go to the Supreme Court of Canada in which this right is asserted. And it remains to be seen what that case will look like and who will litigate it. But that is certainly brewing. The same as hunting, the same as fishing. First Nations peoples are here. They have not forgotten their rights and appear to be devoted to asserting those rights.
So that was the one I was going to show yesterday. So now, and the reason, like I said, is because it's like it's within that same area. So like there's like I believe that there's 4 reservations where Malaya's mom is like I can't. It's that one that's called Spiknikniknikniknikami or whatever it's called. Can't pronounce it for the life of me if I tried. Thank you for telling me how to say Antigonish. Again, sometimes a lot of these Indian reservation names are beyond my pronunciation for sure. But the Micmac is like, throughout the entire Nova Scotia, and this one called something Ross, that's part of that same Spiknikni reservation. But if I was to think that if Malaya's mom, we were said that Malaya went to Wentworth, where her mom Cindy Murray lives, but then we also heard that she's also went to a reservation. If I was to probably think of any reservation, would probably be Indian Brook, which is of the same Spiknikni as well on there. But who knows? We don't know, to be honest with you, where exactly Malaya is at with her mother, or if she's with her mother. We don't know if the child, Meadow, is in Child Protective Services custody or not. We do know that Daniel was denied access, of course, because they're trying to keep the child as protected as possible during this investigation about the other 2 children. So we don't know for sure about whether or not Malaya still has the child in her own presence or not for that. Six Nations Mohawk, you're from, are you saying I am from Six Nations Mohawk, Sharon? On there. So, okay, so that was just something I was wanting to play yesterday and didn't have time to do. Now we're going to move on to Dylan Ehler, the child that went missing in 2020 on May 6th. And Charmaine had sent me this particular gentleman that was covering the story. So I'm going to play that next. And Facebook. Okay, so just to give you guys, he's going to kind of give you guys basically the breakdown of this case in regards to Dylan Ehler. And, I'll just let you guys listen. We'll just listen to it together. So that dates back from King George. Yeah, I mean, okay, I just want to make, so 1752 treaty, but, but I mean, in the United States, you guys, like your gun laws go way, way back as well and stuff like that, right? But these things are like from, like I said, 1752. I'm pretty sure that they didn't say, well, you know what, let's sell this drug and that drug and this drug. Of course, they're going to try to defend it, but see how that part plays out. It probably will turn into a Supreme Court thing. And then, usually how cases become, what did Christopher Proudfoot say? A case that will be used for, what is it? A case study, basically. So laws are always derived from different cases and different stuff that happens, of course, and this probably will end up being a case, meaning back to the treaty one, a case that we'll see, when it gets to the Supreme Court, how they determine it and stuff like that. But come on, it's kind of like something from 1752, and it's kind of like people are trying to interpret it like that this was meant for us to sell fish and this and that. Oh, wait, don't forget about the hashish and the shrooms and the Buddha Boys. Yeah, see that one packaging said Buddha Boys. Anyways, yeah, like seriously, in Canada, we are all extremely outdated with everything. True that. Anyway, so going back to Dylan Ehler, I'm going to play this and so give you guys the gist of Dylan Ehler's case going on. And again, there's like going to be a search. I guess Charmaine had sent me another posting about a search that's going to be going on in May here for Dylan Ehler, and they're looking for volunteers. But we'll get into that post in a minute. And so let me just make this bigger for you guys and play it.
Literally been through it all with the disappearance of their son.
What? The whole world fell apart right there. I hit the ground, started crying.
This family has literally been through it all with the disappearance of their son. Ashley Brown and her partner, Jason Ehler, say that their 3-year-old son, Dylan, is a true country boy with the most outgoing personality they have ever seen. His enthusiasm for life is contagious. Life for this couple wasn't always easy, though. With the pandemic, everything in their area was in lockdown, and because of it, both Ashley and Jason lost their jobs. On one morning in May, an argument escalated into a fight that saw the couple actually be arrested. Ashley was charged with assault for striking Jason, and he was charged with mischief and uttering threats for breaking her cell phone and threatening her. A court date for their hearing was set later that summer, and both were given a no-contact order. Jason went to stay with his parents, who lived about 15 minutes away, while Ashley stayed in their home. They each relied on their mothers to ferry the children back and forth to them. This thankfully enabled Jason to see Dylan every day. On Wednesday, May 6th, 2020, Dylan was visiting his grandmother. At 1:15 p.m. on that day, grandmother Dorothy, Dylan, and a family dog were outside playing. Dorothy turned to put the dog on its leash, and when she turned back, Dylan was simply gone. She immediately called for help, and people nearby began to search for Dylan. 5 minutes later,
One second, not really sure what's going on there. Huh. Let me just hit refresh.
I hit the ground, started crying.
this family has literally been through it all with the disappearance of their son. Ashley Brown stayed with his parents, who lived about 15 minutes. 1:15 p.m. on that day, grandmother Dorothy, Dylan, and a family dog were outside playing. Dorothy turned to put the dog on its leash, and when she turned back, Dylan was simply gone. She immediately called for help, and people nearby began to search for Dylan. 5 minutes later, when no immediate signs could be found, she called the police. Within 4 minutes of that phone call, officers arrived on the scene, and they started searching the area. 2.5 hours later, the Truro Fire Department, Colchester Search and Rescue, and even a National Resources helicopter were out and looking. There was also a focus on one particular spot. At the back of Dylan's grandparents' house is a small body of water. Dave McNeil, chief of the Truro Police Service, described that body of water. Quote, "There is a quick-moving brook, Leper Brook, that runs parallel to Elizabeth Street. The water is very high there this time of year, and it's moving fairly quickly. Firefighters did go into the river, probably chest height, and they were searching the river. The banks are muddy and steep, even though the brook itself is only a few meters across. In May, they were also dealing with spring runoff, and that made the waters move a bit more, and it also made the waters very cold. Investigators feared that Dylan may have fallen into the brook, only to be carried out to Quebecwood Bay via the Salmon River. Quebecwood Bay is an inlet of the Bay of Fundy. The eastern end of the bend hosts the estuary of the Salmon River, whereas the west end of the bay is less well defined. Wired.com tells us that while most rivers flow in one direction, the Salmon is a tidal river, which means it runs in two directions. Every day, a tidal bore sends a wave that is 6 feet high, rippling up the river straight into town, and then it flows back out again. The water, a mix of silt and clay, is a ruddy chocolate brown. Searchers said that this area is not easy to cover, and with the cold waters, it made finding Dylan quickly very important. By 4:30 p.m., no signs of the boy had been found. Local law enforcement issued a localized alert. The alert didn't go out to cell phones, but it was put out to social media and governmental websites because Dylan's disappearance didn't fit the criteria of an Amber Alert. Then, a troubling discovery. At 7:20 p.m., a search and rescue team found one of Dylan's rubber boots. It was submerged in Leper Brook, about 500 feet from Dorothy's house, caught in a shopping cart. Then, at 9 p.m., his other boot was found further down the brook, around a turn where it starts to enter into the Salmon River. No other signs of Dylan were found. While search and rescue continued to work diligently throughout the night, residents checked trash cans, sheds, any place that they thought a 3-year-old might hide, but they turned up no new leads. Police Chief McNeil asked that be the extent of their efforts. Quote, when people are untrained and they try to help search, oftentimes they miss clues, maybe trample over evidence, or maybe become a risk of falling into the ridge of water themselves. So we're just asking people to show support, prayers, and thoughts for the family, and not to get involved with actually physically coming on site to search. The next morning, ground searchers, a canine unit, divers, and drones with thermal imaging and underwater capabilities lent their expertise. They concentrated on the areas where Dylan's boots were found. The teams consisted of at least 45 members, and they focused their efforts near the Salmon River. Everyone hoped and prayed for a quick resolution and Dylan's safe return. At a press conference, Mayor Mills stated that he too was holding out hope of a positive outcome. I've heard stories about youngsters who were in similar situations who have somehow survived, he said. The next morning, tweets started to appear on Twitter in support of Dylan and his family. One post read, "Just gonna leave these out there for Dylan," and it featured a pair of rubber boots. The Yarmouth Fire Department took this a step further when they posted their picture and challenged other departments to do the same. From there, hundreds of first responders, fire departments, and members of the community followed, spreading the news about young missing Dylan. However, due to no additional clues being found during the search efforts, Truro Police sent out a press release only 24 hours after Dylan was reported missing. It said, unfortunately, at this point, the extensive efforts put forth by searchers have not yielded any new clues or information. In consultation with the family, we are now moving from a search mode to a recovery mode. In the days and weeks that followed, efforts continued with more searches and the help of a mannequin. Made to approximate Dylan's size and weight, the doll was released wearing similar clothes in the area of Dylan's disappearance. Using radio transmitters in the mannequin and on the bank of the brook, a signal was captured that mapped the path of travel and gave them some new possible search areas. Unfortunately, water and weather conditions that day were different from the day that Dylan went missing, which obviously skewed the results. The Truro Police released a statement saying, "This trial was not meant to be an exact science. However, it is believed that the exercise did produce some useful information that the team will be evaluating." The announcement was sad and discouraging, but also began to spring new avenues of thought for the family. They began to wonder, did Dylan actually fall into the brook, or was his disappearance more sinister? In an interview with local press, his father, Jason, described their suspicions. Quote, "The boots don't make sense. The boots have never made sense. There were 2 boots that were near the water, and they were found 6 or 7 hours after he disappeared. People covered that ground as soon as Dylan's grandmother screamed for help. As soon as the grandmother called for help, there was a guy instantly at that brook, and there was nothing. No boots, no boy, no nothing." They fear that if Dylan was abducted, the perpetrator could have thrown his boots off of a small railway bridge that crosses Leper Brook, close to where it meets Salmon River, in an effort to throw off the searchers. If that is the case, valuable time was lost during those first hours. To test their theory, a GoFundMe was started that raised reward money. With legal advice and the help of Truro Police, Jason and Ashley decided to offer $10,000 for Dylan's safe and live return, or $1,000 to anyone who leads them to him. An expiration date of July 15th, 2020 was set. It expires because we want immediate results. We don't want somebody to have the opportunity to take their time. We want a sense of urgency with the reward, the family stated. Unfortunately, their bid didn't work, and the reward was not collected. It is still available. Today it sits at $20,000. Search efforts continued despite the family's fears until May 12th, when the active search was called off. Since then, the family and community have rallied together to continue to look for Dylan. Since his disappearance, life for Jason and Ashley has been very tough. With no results in the police's search and investigation, the rumor mill began to turn. Soon, online groups started to target the family with seemingly unfounded accusations. The rumors and threats didn't stay online and could soon be heard in the nearby community. The family has suffered ransom demands and threats of all kinds. Jason commented about a few of these, saying, "One guy sent a picture of Dylan, but it was all photoshopped and looked like he had bruises on his face and stuff. And he wanted 3 Bitcoin. Another one said he had Dylan in the truck and he'd toss him out the window doing 100 kilometers if I didn't send him a couple of $1,000. In response, Dylan's family filed a lawsuit in February of 2021 under Nova Scotia's Intimate Images and Cyber Protection Act against the Facebook groups that were key in spreading the accusations and rumors. In August of 2021, a settlement was reached when it was agreed that the site administrators would be prohibited from reopening a Facebook group on the matter, posting about the case, or communicating with Dylan's parents. To this day, Dylan's family searches for Dylan as much as possible. You'll also see that if you visit his father's YouTube page. He's out there regularly looking for any signs of his son. They also hold rallies where Ashley and Jason, along with their supporters, picket the Truro Police Department. It's very clear that Jason and Ashley are stuck in a cycle of grief and that there's no immediate end for them in sight. At the time of his disappearance, Dylan Ehler stood at about 3 feet tall and he weighed around 32 pounds. His left eye is hazel and his right eye is vertically half hazel and half blue. His hair is brown and he was last seen wearing a dark green jacket with brown fur around the hood, camouflage pants, and bluish rubber boots. Please share this video with friends and acquaintances in Nova Scotia, Canada, to help us raise awareness. And if you have any information about the disappearance of Dylan Ehler, please contact the Truro Police at 902-895-5351.
Okay, so very sad case. I don't know about those boots being his or not. I mean, the parents are both holding it. Bottom line is, regardless, is that let me share my screen here. That's from the Facebook post. I'm an old lady now. Present. 1 second here. Okay, so it says new search plan for missing child Dylan Ehler. A new search is happening for 3-year-old boy who disappeared from Truro just over 5 years ago on May 31st to June 1st. An organization called Please Bring Me Home is conducting a search for Dylan Ehler. They are asking for volunteers from the public to help with this search effort. Again, I mean, so to me, if the parents had any involvement in the disappearance, they would have just let the story lie. They wouldn't be trying to search for this child, in my personal opinion. They wouldn't be trying to progress the disappearance of Dylan if they had any involvement themselves. So that personally leads me to believe, without knowing the story that well at all, to believe that the parents didn't have anything to do with the disappearance. They found it odd about the boots. Like I said, if an area is searched and all of a sudden the boots weren't there, then all of a sudden the boots are there and stuff like that. But they're not going to propel for searches and stuff like that. If they know that they were involved, they would have let it lie as that he ended up in the water. Yeah, Kent, I'm not sure. So I do see, so prayers for Dylan Ehler. I would like to cover his case as well. More so as the days go on and stuff like that here, and bring awareness back to this case. And I do see, Okay, so I do see this article from 3 hours ago. It says expert point to anomalies in an unprecedented case of missing children, Nova Scotia children. Of course, Jack and Lily. So it says 2 weeks after 2 young siblings vanished without a trace in rural Nova Scotia. Hold on, let me just make sure. Okay, I'll make it bigger here. Sorry, let me go back to the article. Okay. So Nova Scotia experts are pointing to anomalies in what they say is an unprecedented case that deviates from a typical missing children investigation. Lily Sullivan, 6, and brother Jack Sullivan, 4, have been missing since May 2nd. That's when police received a 911 call reporting that they had wandered away from their home in Lansdowne Station, a sparsely populated area about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. Nova Scotia RCMP then launched a search that included ground search and rescue officials, dog teams, drones, and helicopters. But after 6 days of scouring the heavily wooded areas surrounding the home, there was no signs of the children, and the search was called off. Michelle Genus, an associate professor in the Criminal Justice Department at University of Louisiana at Lafayette, said that the facts of the case and apparent lack of evidence make it an anomaly. It doesn't meet a lot of the normal criteria for what we would see for these types of cases, said Genus, whose research includes missing persons and juvenile justice. Usually there's evidence in some way that would suggest something nefarious has happened. It mirrors those adult missing person cases where we call it quiet disappearances. There's no evidence. A few details that stand out to Genus is usually including the children's absent from school that week. The child's stepfather, Daniel Martell, told CBS News that the children were not in school on Thursday or Friday, the morning of the disappearance, due to an illness. They also were not at school on Wednesday due to a professional development day. It could just be incredibly bad timing that they had 48 hours unaccounted for before the disappearance. Well, in fact, there's more. But that's just one of the things that stands out in my head, she said. Police will not say if anyone else has contact or saw the children in the days leading up to the days that they went missing. And honestly, I wish that they would let us know, in fact, that the children were last seen on Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or if it was Friday. I really wish that they would let the public know that. Gina said she believes police should be considering whether a person played a part. In a stereotypical kidnapping by a stranger, the offender doesn't usually target a specific child or children. They create a plan, and whoever is in the environment at the time falls victim, said Genus. It doesn't seem like that would be the case here, because what we know is they were in their backyard in a rural community. So it's not like they were walking to school or to the gas station or something where it can be an easily snapped situation. So if there was a stereotypical stranger kidnapping, it would have had to have been somebody who said, I want those kids in particular. Nova Scotia RCMP said on Tuesday that they were following up more than 180 tips from members of the public and exploring, of course, all avenues of the investigation. The Mounties said 35 people were identified in formal interviews, including community members and those closest to the children. Michael, Arntfield, a criminologist at Western Unity in London, Ontario, called the case unprecedented, saying it's highly unlikely for 2 siblings who live together to vanish when a parent is not involved. And there's no evidence of that. If that had been the case, I think we would have heard about that very quickly. This case, when you overlay it on 100 other missing children's cases, it just doesn't add up on many levels. However you say his name, said he thinks police could be more forthcoming with information about the case, given the public is being solicited for information. He said following up 180 tips requires a great deal of resources. Police can't be everywhere, so they rely in cases like this one on eyes and ears of the public. And that needs to be a two-way street in terms of information, he said. Otherwise, they're just going to be tips that really just get bogged down the investigation that aren't necessarily of any substantive value. Oh, wow. Tongue twister on that one. He also said police should have publicly, in the early days of the search, whether the case was considered suspicious. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that there is some active lead being worked on that they don't want to upset the equilibrium and that they're in, said Arntfield. But based on appearances, this went in the wrong direction early on, and key momentum and leads were lost when they were out in the fields looking for the kids that may never have even been there. RCMP said Friday that all missing person cases are treated as suspicious until investigation leads us to determine otherwise. Martell did not return a request for comment Friday. The children's natural grandmother, Cindy Murray, has said police have advised the family against speaking to the media. Nova Scotia RCMP declined an interview request and would not answer specific questions about the case. In a statement, spokesperson Carly McCann said police have spoken to the majority of people identified as potentially having information to support the investigation, and other interviews are scheduled to take place in the coming days. Officers involved are also continuing to follow up on new tips that come in, said McCann, adding that to ensure the integrity of the investigation, no further details will be released. McCann declined to provide more information about why the police believe the children were not abducted. On Friday, Kevin McLean of Colchester Ground Search and Rescue said searchers will be back in the woods Saturday and Sunday with volunteers for multiple search and rescue teams. In a news release Friday evening, RCMP said that search will focus on specific areas around Gairloch Road. The Sullivan home is on this road. Okay, so that's by Allie Thompson. Okay. There's that little place near the Royal RCMP, basically, that they were speaking about. This, of course, is the home where Daniel Martell still resides, and Malaya has left that home as of May 3rd, and apparently the relationship's over. So what is going on now? Is that the update that you're talking about? 1 second there. Hi, sunshine on a rainy day. Oh, and that's to do with Dylan's story. Let's see here. Without a trace in 18 seconds. Yeah, I don't know enough about the case, but it's very unlikely, though, that parents would continue to want to search for a child or have more, or believe it's sinister. If they had any involvement, they would let the story lie as it lied, and they wouldn't try to bring focus back to themselves. And again, 2 Facebook groups. Actually, where was that video? I did have a video up, but I don't know where. If it where did it go? I think it. 1 second. Oh, it was this one here. Let's see. 1 second. It's just going to load it.
$75. Go to heroeslottery.com to see all of our
Just let that ad
prizes
play out.
our local
It's not
heroes.
YouTube, so.
3-year-old Dylan Ehler's disappearance in 2020 instantly sparked despair and concern amongst the public, as many took to social media to speculate on what could have happened to the boy who had seemingly vanished mere seconds of being left alone in his grandmother's yard. But online theories quickly spiraled into unproven information, some users going as far as accusing his parents of killing their child. Ehler's parents have never been charged in their son's disappearance, and filed a civil case against 2 Facebook users that ended in a court settlement. But 5 years later, as another missing children's case rocks the province, widespread speculation has returned.
Similar to what we dealt with on the Ehler case, there are a lot of online rumors that I'm noticing online, and a lot of accusations against the parents.
6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing from their home in Lansdowne Station on May 2nd. A police investigation into the missing children is ongoing, but that hasn't deterred the public from launching an unofficial investigation of its own on sites like Facebook, Reddit, and X.
With respect to the spread of misinformation, inaccurate information, and speculation, I just want to say that's harmful. It's harmful to the families and communities who are trying to work their way through a traumatic event. And so I really want to encourage people to be kind.
There's a lot of information and the police have to follow up on every lead. But when a lot of it ends up being rumors, it's taking away from valid calls that they're getting and valid information that they would like to follow up on.
And the average social media sleuth could be risking far more than a slap on the wrist.
If it rises to the level of criminal harassment or threats, the police will certainly get involved and there can be criminal charges laid. On a civil side, the victims of these bullying posts do have some avenue to get justice. So they can file an action in Supreme Court for a cyber protection order, and a judge can order the people that are posting to stop, to take down posts, to remove groups from online, and even to the extent that, depending on the harm that is done, damages can be awarded against the offending party.
And for anyone who is experiencing cyberbullying or is worried about information that's circulating about themselves, they can reach out to CyberScan to get supports with that.
Ella MacDonald, Global News.
So just wanted to play that out there because that was an article that was out there as well. Tara, I wasn't sure if you're referring to Dylan's case or you're referring to Jack and Lily's case on there. And bottom line is, and that's kind of like what I was saying at the start of this live and stuff like that, we always try to bring out the facts of the case. Yes, we can talk about inconsistencies of Malaya's interview, and how it's perceived. Everyone's, talking about that interview, as a matter of fact, because it doesn't make sense. So there's no crime in talking about it as long as it's always speculation. But at the start of this video, we were talking about how a lot of times adults will go to people's Facebooks, or clearly just deem them that they somehow killed these children. When the fact is that we don't know what happened. We don't know if they were abducted. We don't know if they're in the woods. We don't know if there is parent involvement or not at all. But to blatantly accuse without having the facts, like some channels, like some things do, or go to people's Facebooks of these people, the parents, the grandmothers, and then just blatantly be like, just tell us what you did with the children and stuff like that. Have a cup of grow the fuck up and act adult-like and mature, because at the end of the day, it's really about bringing awareness to the case and the children, talking about it, talking about them, absolutely. Again, it's including like Sebastian Rogers' case. Now, that one's a little bit different in the fact that the stepfather of Sebastian clearly lies, and he's clearly a manipulator. And the thing is that there's receipts to go with that. But do we know what happened to Sebastian Rogers? Do we know if there was parental involvement at all? Do we know really what happened? No, it's a very kind of like Jack and Lily's case. It's a very suspicious case that has these elements of side stink eye, at what's being said. We don't know. We don't have any information. I do wish that the RCMP would give us an update and let us know, right? Kind of like what was said in that article. It's a two-way street. And to me, it is. When you're asking for the public's help, right, there's certain information that they're not going to put out there, but there's information like what happened to the footprint. Did that have no evidentiary value towards this case at all? Or is it still part of it? But did someone see Jack and Lily on Tuesday night after they were dropped off from school, or on Wednesday. They can simply verify that, to stop all of this speculation about when they disappeared. If they legit have, and I'm sure that they absolutely have knowledge of when these children were last seen, even if it's not by the immediate, besides the immediate, parents saying it, that there has to be somebody else that is verified when these children were last seen. Or maybe there isn't anyone that has verified. Who knows? But I really wish that they would say that. 100 degrees, hot and sunny, beautiful day in southern Ontario. Hi, The Path. How are you? We are all here because we care about the missing children, trying to bring awareness. So, and I can see that there's 58 likes now. If you please haven't liked or shared this, please at least hit the like button. Again, keep it out in the algorithm, again, some of the channels can really try to embellish on things, for the sake of their channel and subscribers, and they have to use always these, exploding news, type of thing, breaking news, but it's not really breaking news and stuff like that. But they always have to put little bombs beside their thing and stuff like that and try to enhance it. But it's really more of a self-motivated thing when people do stuff like that. This channel doesn't believe in stuff. It's about the children and the murdered and the missing, first and foremost, on there. So with that being said, let's see here. I just have a really bad feeling they really didn't wander off, but the erosion from Fiona caused a lot of, okay, you're talking about this case, a lot of weak spots in the earth. And I feel they slipped, soil gave way, they fell near the pipeline. Well, and again, Tara, as the article that we just read said, that this weekend they're going to be doing more precise searching areas, going back to, because we don't know, right? If I had to say it myself, I think that the abduction is probably like on the lower level to me. It's either the children got overlooked in the woods or perhaps family involvement. Now, again, listening, and I watch, and I'm sure you guys do too, listening to all the experts or the behavioral analysts and stuff like that. A lot of, almost all of them that I've watched, honestly, see very red flags in the story. So again, time is going to tell the truth. Well, let's hope it does, because we all know that in Summer Wells' case, who knows if we'll ever know the answer. It could be a John Bonet type of situation. I just don't feel that with this case. I feel that answers are going to come soon. Like, I always keep wanting to think like within the next week and a half, but it could go on longer. We don't know. Again, it depends on, if I just wish that RCMP were more forthcoming with just certain information to the public, right? Try to nip the speculation in the bud regardless. But, for the people that are just wanting the facts of the case and stuff like that, instead of making us wonder, did somebody see Jack and Lily on Thursday, on Wednesday, on Tuesday night? Just say it. That way it narrows down that timeline to the public. Because when you're asking for the help of the public, it should be a two-way street. And there's certain information like that. What harm is that going to do the case by saying that it has been verified that Jack and Lily were seen? They don't have to say who, just that it has. All they have to do is say it has been verified that Jack and Lily were last seen at blah, blah, blah time, right? Then it will eliminate from Tuesday when the bus driver dropped off until the Friday morning. update was just on local news. Well, so in saying that, the update can't, I guess it's like, is it like the article that I just read, that one? Because let me just take a look here. So there's that article. My vision is of the cave and more near the lake. Hi, Jeremiah. Yeah, actually, let's see here. It's my husband's family. They're going off in at WhatsApp there. Keep hearing bzz, bzz, bzz. My husband's from the United Kingdom, which some of the people that are watching are from that side of the pond as well. And actually, so just while I take a quick boo around, you guys that are watching, just go ahead, put where you're from. Whether you're from Canada, whether you're from the United States. I'm personally from, me and Charmaine are from West Coast here, British Columbia. I live near the Vancouver area in Langley, and Charmaine's up there in Salvin Arm, the shoe shop area of BC, which is kind of like about, I don't know what, 4 hours, 5 hours away or something like that. So anyway, so yeah, put where you're from, you guys, and just give me a moment. Let me just kind of, because so that article that I just read came out 3 hours ago, and let me just see what else is out there. Okay, so that one was from 3 hours ago. CTV News was 25 minutes ago. The CBS one actually says, the Nominalese ones is saying 33 minutes ago, even though when I looked at it, it said 3 hours. Okay, so this is the one I think that you're speaking about. Actually, that was in the article. So I think this is the one you might be speaking about, is this one right here. The one that I didn't play it, but it was in the article. Let's see. Oh, gotta have a stupid ad. It's not YouTube, so gotta get by the ads. Correct. That's what I just May 17th in the 8th. Yeah, that's yeah. So that's the same thing we just read, actually. It was this update. But let me hit play. And let me turn this up.
Around 10.
Just one sec, because it's not the one that's playing. Like, I have the thing up, but it was playing off a different screen. So let's do that again.
It's been 2 weeks since 2 young children vanished without a trace in rural Nova Scotia. Here's everything we know about what's happened since their disappearance. Around 10 a.m. on the morning of May 2nd, 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing from their home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station. The children's stepfather, Daniel Martell, told CBC the siblings were out sick and not at school on Thursday and Friday. He said he believed the children must have gone outside through the sliding back door sometime Friday morning.
When we noticed that the children were gone, immediately jumped in the vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and waited for the police to get there.
Nova Scotia RCMP said they believed the children wandered away from their home and there was no evidence of abduction. That morning, a vulnerable missing person advisory was issued in Pictou County, and the organized search for the kids began in the heavily wooded area surrounding the family home. Volunteers searched through the night. More than 100 people were called in to help. Helicopters, drones, and police dogs were also part of the search. On Saturday, May 3rd, officials were optimistic the children would be found.
It's a huge wooded area with lots of potential. So we're just keeping all avenues open and ensuring we're covering off the entire area with a very structured search.
Around 5:30 that night, RCMP issued a wider alert to Pictou County and surrounding areas. On Saturday, the children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, spoke to CTV News. She said she was hopeful and that she just wanted the kids home. The search continued on Sunday, May 4th. The children's stepfather said he wanted authorities to monitor the New Brunswick border and nearby airports in case the children were abducted. Meanwhile, 160 searchers were out looking for the children despite rainy conditions. On Monday, May 5th, police and rescue agencies continued searching, going at all hours. RCMP said searchers had located what could have been a footprint on Saturday and expanded the search effort in that area. That night, 4 drones with thermal imaging technology were used to look for heat signatures in the woods. Tuesday, May 6th marked 5 days since the children went missing. A Nova Scotia RCMP spokesperson said in an update that the case remained a missing persons investigation.
Police are pursuing all investigative avenues, and there's a variety of teams involved who are applying the tools and the skills and the expertise needed to locate and bring Lily and Jack home.
McCann wouldn't say if there had been any sign of the children. The children's stepfather told CBC that after the disappearance, the children's mother left the area to be with her family in another part of the province and blocked him on social media.
My mother had to kick some people off the property because they were saying that I did it. I had something to do with it. And I'm the only one here fighting for them, which is sad.
The children's maternal grandmother told the Canadian Press the family was hoping and praying for the children to come home. On Wednesday, May 7th, Nova Scotia RCMP announced it would scale back the search for the missing kids.
We're not packing up, and we're not giving up. Our investigation is broad, and it won't end until we know where Lily and Jack are and can bring them home.
McKinnon said there hadn't been any confirmed sightings of the children, and survivability was unlikely.
If we thought they were alive right now, we'd still be out there.
He said the searchers covered a 5.5 square kilometer area, roughly the size of Halifax's downtown, that was heavily wooded.
I'm absolutely exhausted at this point after going through 6 days of virtual hell. It's absolutely crazy.
On Thursday, May 8th, the RCMP packed up its command center in Lansdowne Station and searchers left the area. Martell told CBC he spoke with investigators from the major crime unit in Stellarton earlier in the week. He said he willingly handed over his phone to police and investigators searched the home. Martell said he also asked for a polygraph test.
I just want to clear it up for everyone, not just the people online making crazy accusations and everything else.
RCMP declined to say whether a polygraph would be administered. Meanwhile, a makeshift memorial was set up at the nearby Stellarton RCMP detachment.
In a news release on Tuesday, May 13th, Nova Scotia RCMP said they were continuing to investigate. Police said they were following up on more than 180 tips from the public and had identified 35 people to interview, including community members and those closest to the children. Police also confirmed that an underwater team searched lakes in the area but didn't find anything.
On Thursday, May 15th, RCMP confirmed again that there's been no evidence to suggest the children were abducted. 2 weeks later, on Friday, May 16th, there are still no answers as to what happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan. Cassidy Chisholm, CBC News, Halifax.
Okay. Just to ask you, Kent, do you by chance, so was it this one or was it a different one? Because you said no, CTV News at 6 p.m. today. And do you have that link by chance? If so, because it'd be a lot faster if you did. Most of us are related. Sunny, I just wanted to say you are doing an amazing job keeping all these beautiful children's names alive. We all need to keep saying their names. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. But really, at the end of the day, just a YouTube channel trying to cover cases, but you guys do your part too by sharing and posting and stuff like that. So there's no I in teamwork, right? Because it really takes everyone to bring awareness to cases and stuff like that. Not everybody has channels, but a lot of people go to different channels. But all I say for this is that try to stick with channels that are actually trying to bring you out the information, or channels that, you know, are at least experienced in true crime behavior analysts and stuff like that. People, you know what I mean? People that are literally skilled with, you know, body language and stuff like that, instead of like all the drama ones trying to insert false things out there, or projecting all this updated information to gain it for self-serving purposes, you know. But at the end of the day, even what I call like the shit channels and stuff like that, even if they're showing shit, they're trying to feed their own pockets and stuff like that, or their subscriber base, at least it's still bringing awareness to a case, regardless. But I just, you know, I would just suggest refrain from posting things that aren't factual, like RCMP updates out of the horse's mouth, whether it's true or not, from the parents and stuff like that. That's the information. Those are the only facts that we can truly go on. And then the rest of it just becomes speculation, and some of it just becomes false rumors that people put out there. And let's see. And Kent is from the Pictou County area. And again, thank you, Kent, for giving us any information from that area that you have, because obviously people that are within the community, within the area, you know, are hearing the talks and stuff like that, even if it's just, you know, whispers and stuff like that going on. So it's always nice to have people like that. And Kent, of course, I put this offer out there. Doesn't mean you have to, but, you know, if ever you wish to hop on a live with us, doesn't mean you have to show your face on camera. Some people don't. If you ever wish to hop up on a live and just want to talk about the case with us, feel free. You can always let me know and email. Now it's not up here, but I do want to give it's the email address for It's a Crime and Shame. It's at crimeandshame at gmail.com. So the offer's there for you particularly, or anyone else that's from that area that wishes to join us. We don't have live call-ins and stuff like that. Trust me, there's a lot of weirdos out there. So if somebody is, you know, wants to, they can, like I said, ask to come up on a live here at crimeandshame at gmail.com. Fingers are typing too slow on there. Yeah, no, again, it's all of us. And that's hence why this channel is asking you to, you know, hit the like, hit the share, keep it into the algorithm, keep the cases honest and real, right? Not full of drama and mistruths and constantly putting up receipts of things that aren't truthful. People that are claiming that the children were found, that Daniel was arrested and stuff like that. At the end of the day, we don't know what happened to these children. We don't know if there was parent involvement. Even if we feel that way, we don't know if there was. My thoughts are that he is not involved at all. Cody Lee Sullivan, he's in Prince George. I'm personally not seeing that the biofather, who hasn't had anything to do with his children, just is gonna, you know, kind of come on up there and take his kids. That wouldn't make sense to someone that's not involved in their life, in a sense. So I really don't see that myself. After the fact, the other kid might say, well, mommy, daddy did this. Right, I get what you're saying. And it's not like I don't think these things as well. Now, someone said, well, it's just absurd. I think it was The Path that said, like, that's just absurd to say that. But it's not absurd to say that, to be honest with you. Not in true crime cases. Well, we don't know what happened in this case. It's not absurd because, like I said the other day, well, would you call it absurd that a mother or a stepmother slices and dices up a child and puts them in a suitcase? You know, so is it really that far-fetched to think that if one kid saw something, the other kid would? Now, it just depends on what the likelihood of that option is. But there's so many absurdities that parents do or try to cover up of something that they've done to their child or children and stuff like that. Susan Smith, clear example, puts her kids into the water and acts like a black man hijacked her vehicle, all for the sake of a man, right? We saw this with Chris Watts, all for the sake of a girlfriend, didn't want, to take his own wife and all his children and his pregnant wife's life, it's crazy what people do, Gannon Stotch case, right? It just goes on and on and on. And some of these people get off because there's just not enough evidence to convict. Or you got the mother testifying in the Harmony Montgomery case, even though she's full well part of knowing that, that the dad, whatever, although that they both were involved in the disappearance and the murder of Harmony Montgomery. But because the police don't have enough evidence, but if she testifies against him, whatever his name is again, then of course, to help the case. But yet, do we know where Harmony Montgomery is? No, because the father took her and buried her off somewhere and is acting like he's freaking innocent, So it's not absurd, because there's a lot of people that just do the most god-awful things to these children. And that's why these cases, for me personally, people that try to use cases for self-serving purposes, or their britches get too big because their channel grows, and then they think that they're like God's gift. And we have a Canadian, and I'm going to mention this because he's disgusting to me. There's a Canadian that's covering this case, and he's a piece of shit, okay? And his name is Joseph Morris. And the reason why Joseph Morris is a big Canadian piece of shit is because he uses cases to his advantage. And what happened was, in the Brian Kohberger case, he literally manipulated an audio, and he manipulated a news article and changed the context of it. Kind of like what he did in, what was that other case? Come on, guys. Gabby Petito, okay? Right? Now, there's a piece of shit that literally, for his own benefit, he used a domestic violence video to portray it that it was coming out of the Kohberger case. And then he basically hid. Like, his videos went down after he was called out for his bullshit. Okay, so there's one channel right there that, to me, is a disgusting piece of crap. And I don't really talk about channels too often, but there are definitely ones like Joseph Morris. Remember that name, Joseph Morris. That guy is covering this case. And honestly, like I said, unless he's learned his lesson, which I highly doubt, everything he does is for the benefit of his pocketbook. It's not because he cares about covering these cases. What he cares about is lying and deceiving to you all and putting out information. Who does stuff like that? A selfish, greedy, narcissistic, self-serving, holding his fucking puppy in his hand, because you guys know how it is. You stick a guy with a freaking pet or a freaking child in their hand, and it's like, oh, that nice guy that's on that YouTube channel, Joseph Morris. No, it's bullshit. But there's people like that out there that, for self-serving purposes, just cover these cases and stuff like that. And it's sickening. And to me, children, they're our most prized possessions ever. When my son was born, even though my son's and my relationship has been strained since the divorce, okay? But you know what? I can still die tomorrow knowing that I was a great mother, a loving mother, and that all I ever cared about was protecting my child. Hence why they called me smothering, not mothering, because he was my only child, my son. Matthew, he's 28 now. But it's because it's our job as parents, when we give birth to these children and we decide that we're going to be parents, that we do our best to make sure that those children are protected, loved, cared about, given proper morals, given proper boundaries. That's what we do. That's our job. It's not to abuse them and use them and think that there are little slaves for us in that. They're just innocent. These children before you, Jack and Lily, they have such a life to live, and either at the, you know, expense of the family member perhaps, or that they disappeared off into the woods and something tragically happened to them both, or they were abducted or whatever. You know, mistakes can happen when you just turn your head for a moment and look. But it's our job, right? It's our responsibility to make sure that our kids are always protected as best as we can do, knowing that you did a good job. And I feel really horrible for like these cases like Delphi, where Kelsey, the sister, drops off Abby and Libby at the bridge that day, and then has to have that guilt of knowing, what if I didn't take him there that day? For the grandma, you know, who let them go to, you know, to play at the, or to go on the Monan High Trail Bridge and stuff like that, you know. And it's just heart tearing that at this moment we don't know what happened to Jack and Lily. Sebastian's case, his dad's still just, his bio dad's just searching for him relentlessly, doing everything possible under the sun to bring awareness to his case and stuff like that. I hate to be a preacher and stuff like that, but I don't give a shit about that either, because our children, you know, to a parents that love their kids, right, they mean everything to us. And when we see things like people not coming forward or not doing interviews, is it sus to us? Yes, because in our heart of hearts, we know there's nothing going to stop us to talk about our children or bring awareness to a case. All right, let me go back to what you guys are saying. Is this the Sullivan family? They're referring to the Oilers supplier, Sullivan. Oh, you guys talking about a business or something like that? I was married to an RCMP officer for 14 years. I understand their quietness on this. I still feel like that they definitely could bring out the fact of when was the last time that Lily and Jack were seen. You know, at least when they're saying that, then anyone that's posting that, you know, about Tuesday or Wednesday and stuff like that, you know, can get it kind of like cut right there, and stop all that speculation. That they can do. There's nothing that's going to harm the case about that. And that's kind of what they were saying in the article, and that's what that at the earlier start of the show, that when I played from what was it called, TV Canada, Media TV Canada. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna have to scroll down here. Let's see. Black market is what I believe. Hi, MNJ Canada. Black market is what I believe sold the kids to big bucks nowadays as planned. This for over months exploring. Not my personal thoughts, but I appreciate yours. I have the video recorded, but I don't know how to post the video in your comments. Oh, okay. Right. No. Yeah, if there was a link to the video, but I'll look at it in a minute. Yeah. You know, I know that there's speculation. My thoughts are, if they're not in the woods, I'm not believing in the abduction part myself personally. It's an option, but it's a low option on my personal thoughts. My things were that if there was a party, but there's nothing to show that there was a party, no one's come forward, that perhaps these children perhaps got into some drugs, you know, OD'd, you know. Again, another thought was, and I think Kent had said this, that maybe one child had died, and then the other one was trying, you know, because children talk, you know, they had to do something with both of them in a sense, stuff like that. Like, these aren't absurd. These things do happen, so they're not absurd, but it's just where they fall on somebody's scale of what they believe happened to these children, right? Thing is that the truth will come out with this case. I would like to hope and pray that the parents, of course, never have anything to do with the disappearance of their children. But that simply is not realistic, and that's not the case. But we don't know that in this case. But we do know that there's oddities in the interview, odd behaviors, especially coming out of the mother in that interview. The things that are said, those are just weird. Okay, we all, like, even if you're nervous and whatever, okay, maybe that could be the case in her case, and she's, you know, not overly thinking. But just from a visual point of view, the emotions, the words are weird. You know, tell Jack, do you hear the kids? What do you mean, tell Jack? What do you mean about this sliding door? If you don't hear a sliding door, what other times then are you talking about? If this door is so silent, Is that because the kids actually go in and out and that the door is silent, that you actually don't hear the kids coming out, and 1 minute they're outside, next minute they're in, and they've used the sliding door, because obviously in order to make reference to a silent door and in reference to previous, in a sense, about the sliding door, has to be that there had to be more things that happened with this door that you're mentioning to be silent. So do I believe that these kids were outside playing that particular day on the Friday? No, I'm not there. I'm just listening to the facts that are coming in and the updates that are coming in. Child support. Okay, I know what you were thinking there, Jeremiah. I know you were thinking child support. Yeah. That, like, again, these thoughts cross my mind as well, because you have to look at, like, as when we don't know answers, you just try to, of course, think about all the different aspects of this case and what the plausible and possible scenarios could possibly be. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just stating the facts that at 6 p.m. That was an update on C3 News. Now it's now 6:45 p.m. local time. Update. Let me, you know what, like I said, let me, you know what, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna play this clip just while I'm looking. Okay, I'm gonna try to find that, but I'm just gonna go back and play this one from earlier in the live, and it was again a channel. It's called Merit TV Canada. That's what it's called. Okay, and I'm going to take this down. Whoops. Down. I'm just going to play that just as I kind of go away for a minute, and I'm going to see if I can find this news that happened at 6 o'clock, because I'm in, like I said, Western Canada, and that's 4 hours difference in the Maritimes there in the Nova Scotia area. So I'm just going to play this, and I'll be right back. And if you haven't hit the like button,
then that means that the whole investigation and the way they focused it is based on bad information.
There's a big story that has been growing and getting more worldwide attention that's actually coming out of Eastern Canada in Nova Scotia. And there's two children that have gone missing, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, a brother and a sister, Lily and Jack, I believe their names are. Could you maybe just fill in the audience what's been going on over the last several weeks with that, and where are we at now?
Sure, happy to. Given that well, originally I was CBC Fifth Estate, but then went into true crime for about 10 years. So I know that territory really well. And one of our biggest stories was the Clayton Johnson wrongful conviction, which got him out of jail after 5 years in prison for being falsely accused of murdering his wife, which he didn't do. She fell down the stairs. It's quite a famous case, which we're proud of. Same region, kind of remote Nova Scotia. Well-meaning RCMP detachments out there sort of doing the investigation, but still murder cases are really, really hard, and they require a level, I think, of experience in handling them to be really good at them. So, I think we can imagine that although the RCMP do their best and try hard, and they're excellent human beings in many cases, this is a tough thing for them. And it's a story, as you just said, David, that is getting a lot of press and social media attention around the world. It was odd because I just kind of tuned into it really with big attention last week. There was a news conference I watched, and I thought it was a really weird news conference out there. When they called down the search, they didn't call off the search in the wooded area for them, but they were making it smaller. And I was watching the news conference, a couple of RCMP, there's a few more high-level trained RCMP major crimes guys there who usually really know what they're doing. And one thing I noticed about this case, which is Lily and Jack, 4 and 6 years old, who disappeared from their parents' kind of trailer property and really in the middle of the boonies in Pictou County, right? These two young kids just gone. And it's been, I think, 10 days now or something like that. But I noticed that there wasn't a lot of engagement by the reporters in the scrum out there, which was sort of odd. Like the police said they found a boot print, and I didn't hear a ton of follow-ups about what boot print, what size, was it his or hers? How did where was it going? That sort of thing. So I started to get a kind of a queasy feeling about this story. I don't know what's wrong, but something in my view is really wrong. I'll give you a couple of things that have happened. And people are now pulling all of these news conferences off the internet. They're taking interviews with both of the parents who are now not living together, the stepfather and mother of the two missing children. She moved out almost immediately when this happened. So they're pulling off all of these interviews and putting together little investigations of their own. And some of them are pretty good. But what I can tell you about this, David, is that this is the kind of activity around a true crime story that is going to make it really, really big. One of those kind of nearly legendary things that becomes a kind of a movie of the week sort of thing, right? That's what I'm sensing. And what's weird about it is that the stories of the people involved don't make any sense. And I'll just give you a taste of my sense, and I'm just guessing, but the kids hadn't been in school for quite a few days, which is weird. They were apparently sick or something. They hadn't been in school, and the parents claim or the mother and stepfather claim, who have another child, a child that's their child, a young baby, claim that they sort of woke up and realized that Lily and Jack were gone, and they were gone. But she'd taken her backpack with her, which I thought was kind of strange. And I'm really wondering today. They initially just did this huge search in the woods. They didn't put out an Amber Alert for an abducted child, which I think was wrong. I think they should have. They couldn't have made a decision she wasn't abducted so quickly. They should have done that. They concentrated on this really vast and very dangerous for children wooded area and got nowhere except this boot print, as far as I know. I mean, they're not really saying much more. And it kind of struck me this morning as I was looking into it, like, did these two kids just leave to go to school that day? Because their parents were still in bed, right? When they went missing. So I kind of wondered, did they wake up and say, well, we're going to go to school, and she put her backpack on and they walked out to the road hoping for the school bus or something and were abducted? This is all blue skying.
Yeah.
But we don't have what you really, really need in a true crime story. We don't have a good timeline. People have done them, but there's been a dispute about when they were first noticed missing. One of them says 8, and that's on a police audio taped call. But another timeline says they didn't notice until 10 a.m. that they were gone. So there's a whole bunch of hinky stuff in this. And because they're cute kids, because the parents are, maybe a little dicey seeming, they're not apparently together, and she's at her mother's now and not talking. It's really weird. So I think that this is going to blow up. And given how long they've been gone, the police were right to say, if they were in the woods, we think they're deceased. They wouldn't say why they thought that, but the weather was terrible. But they also didn't find any bodies either. So I think it's not going to end well. I think they're right to say that. But it's a very, very strange story that's going to have a lot of twists and turns. And the community has been very, very upset by this. I think maybe a bus driver, maybe some of the teachers might know a little bit about the story based on
right now. Sorry to interrupt, Trish. Right now, there's just a lack of evidence. There's a lack of clues that seem to be able to put anything together. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying, because I should have been more clear. It's a great question, David, because what we know is based on what the parents are saying.
Okay.
Right. What their stories about what did or did not transpire that day. And if they're lying or fudging, then that means that the whole investigation and the way they focused it is based on bad information, right? The kids could have been gone 2 days before, and maybe they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of where we stand on that. But it's morphing into a big, Nancy Grace type of Keith Morrison true crime thing. And people are really talking about it. I think the police have to be more forthcoming. They have to have a better news conference than the one they had, which, by the way, that's the last thing I'll say about it for now, but opened with a land acknowledgement. Respectfully, they were there to announce that the kids were dead, and might be dead, and they spent a long time wasting time. They didn't sort of get to the point of the news conference until quite a few minutes in, and it just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
They weren't, usually when the police announce that they think someone is deceased, they're very respectful. They do the, our hearts go out to thing. And none of that happened in that news conference. So again, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And it's just, ginning up the attention for this story around the world. So, and maybe an amateur sleuth will solve it. Sometimes they do, you know?
Yeah. Well, from what I've been able to see from it is they've had you said they pared down the search that they had been going for a while. They had over 160 searchers, including ground teams, drones, and canine units, and a very dense force from what it seems like in that area. And so, despite the efforts, as you said, very few clues, very few pieces of information have actually come forth.
Stop that now. And these were just two things that I came across. And hi, Melissa. Nice to see ya. Melissa is American Justice in the channel. Hi, wise old lady. How are you? Oops, there you are. I'm doing it correctly. Okay. Well, let's see. Tell me, Kent, if there was two things I'm going to play here. Stop screen, and we'll do this one. Oh, no, hold on. No, this one. Hold on. I got CTV News. Click on it. This one here. Okay. So there's this one here.
Begin with breaking news tonight. The RCMP have just announced that searchers will be back in Pictou County tomorrow to look for Lily and Jack Sullivan. The two children went missing from their home in Lansdowne Station 2 weeks ago. After 6 days of searching for the siblings by ground and by air, the RCMP called off the search more than a week ago. Police say they will be focusing on specific areas around Gairloch Road, which is where their home is located. The initial search covered 5.5 square kilometers of heavily wooded terrain in a rural area. They also scoured bodies of water in that particular spot. Police are asking the public to stay away.
Okay, so there was that one.
Tonight.
Today. Was that the one? And then there was this one here.
On station this weekend to continue looking for 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan. It comes 2 weeks after the siblings vanished without a trace in the rural Pictou town. They are thought to have wandered away while their parents were in bed. CBC's Brett Ruskin is in Lansdowne Station with the latest on the efforts to find the siblings.
2 weeks as of today that these children have been missing here. 6-year-old Lily Sullivan, her 4-year-old brother Jack disappeared from their family home. Police say that they may have wandered off into the woods, into these thick, dense woods behind me here. Inhospitable conditions. There are thousands of trees down from a hurricane a few years back. There are thick clouds of bugs in the air. There's ticks in the woods and on the ground to take a couple of steps off the pathway, off the roadway, and your pant legs are full of ticks. So not great conditions for missing children, not great conditions for the search efforts that have been going on, that were going on for the first 6 days of this search, with more than 160 search and rescue volunteers in these woods, dogs as well, helicopters rumbling through the air. You had drones day and night searching overhead as well for any sign of these missing children, but there has been no evidence, no clues as to what may have happened to them. Now, this search has garnered international attention from experts and amateurs alike, trying to determine what may have happened to these kids and offering opinions and rumors about what may have happened. We heard from a professor of criminology at the University of Louisiana talking about a search like this and some of the difficulties that investigators and searchers might encounter.
I think it puts us kind of back in time regarding risk. These cell phones that we carry around, we think keep us a lot safer. We can track them, and now we don't sort of have that here. We also don't have that close connection of immediate people who can go out and hurry up and scan this small area, right? It's rural. There's lots of areas to search. There's not the go-to town center sort of thing where we can convene. So really the environment created, I think, a lot of disadvantage for this case.
So again, difficult conditions for the search, for any kind of efforts to find these children. The police say that even though the search has been scaled back, after those first initial 6 days, the investigation is still very much underway and very much in progress. More than 180 tips have come in from members of the general public. They are investigating each one of those tips. They're also conducting more than 35 different interviews with people who may have been close to the children, family members, friends, neighbors, members of the public as well, who might have a connection, might know something about the disappearance of these children. Overall, though, the vacuum resulting from the lack of confirmed facts is being filled by speculation and rumors online, with, again, not many answers as to what may have happened to these two missing children. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia.
The trial of the man accused of killing Pat Stay
being filled.
Okay, so that was now I didn't get an email from you there, Kent, so I'm not sure if you typed it wrong. It's atcrimeandshame@gmail.com. It's not it's a crime and shame, it's atcrimeandshame@gmail.com. MNJ Canada, I see your email. I see that this is what you think on there. Again, not my thoughts at all personally. Appreciate to everyone's perspective, however, regardless. So they lived in that area for what, a couple years in that particular home on the mother's property there. And no, I mean, we haven't been told if they found any excrement, or however you say that word, excrement on there. I noticed you spelled same thing. But again, that's not being said. We don't know anything other than what this came out today, and the other one I just played came out today. Yes, poop. To be honest with you, Melissa, thank you, but I'm gonna have to end this live in just a few minutes because I'm going over to my twin's house today. Got to bring her over a couple things that she wanted me to order her from Temu, and go visit my sister. She just lives down like 2-minute car ride down the road, down this road right here, actually. But she lives at the other end of the street. But yeah, so I'm going to be hopping off. But if it would have been a while back, then I would have said sure. So no offense. I finally think I was able to screenshot you a picture of the news headline on there. Well, was this not it? Because this is this is CBC. You said it was CTV News, and the only thing I keep seeing for CTV News is the one that I already played from today. That's the only one that I keep seeing. Other than that, I'm not seeing the actual one that you're saying. I'll look in my email again, but can't, like I said, there's no email from you at all. And again, that's atcrimeandshame@gmail.com. But that's my fear. But like Sunshine says, no footprints from the kids. Well, again, we never did get an update about the footprint that was at the back of the yard. We don't know. I don't know. Let's see here. Just saying. That's about it. What'd you say? Sorry. Hi, the Jersey lady one. Wise old lady. I've seen the pictures that appear to show authorities looking under the trailer. Right. I mean, there was like a drive-by video where people sent that in the other day, and stuff like that it was being said. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless, right? That home, the property, everything about it is what should always be done in a missing child's case. Becomes a crime scene because you don't know, right? And that everything needs to be rechecked, looked over again. Same thing with Sebastian Rogers' case. They did a search, they redid a search, did another search again. And so, of course, you would think that they would definitely be looking underneath the trailer, looking anywhere for where these kids possibly could have gone. And again, they're going to be doing a search this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday, and go back over certain specific areas, I guess, of the search, because bottom line is obviously they don't know, right? Like, let me put it this way. If they truly just thought it was the parents' involvement, right, type of thing, and they didn't think that the kids were in the woods, perhaps, they wouldn't be searching there this weekend. But maybe they do know the answer. Maybe they do feel like they're in the woods. Still, who knows? Don't know. We only are as good as the updates that we get, unless people have specific personal knowledge of stuff. Then that's of course different. And for anyone watching too, so we've been talking about Jack and Lily's case. Then we were talking about Dylan Ehler's case, which is going to have a search at the end of the month, on May 30th to June 1st, and they're looking for people in that area to volunteer. The missing persons is going to be conducting a search again because of Dylan Ehler's case, because the parents in that believe that it's more suspicious than just that he fell into the water, perhaps, and that he hasn't been found, and that these boots of Dylan's appeared in an area that's already been searched that day and stuff like that, thinking it's odds, thinking that there's suspicion to their child's case on that one. Hi, Lacey. Oh, Lacey. There's 80 to me, but some of them can be from Twitter. Oh yeah, there's 5 from Twitter. Hey, Twitter, tweet. I'm calling it Twitter still. Sorry, Elon Musk, you can't get me to say X if your life depended on. Well, besides I just said X, but to me, he ruined that by calling it X. Should have just left it as Twitter. Twitter, exactly what it is. Tweet, Twitter. Not this stupid X thing. Can't for the life of me be forced to say that still. I wouldn't say that there's a whole lot of natural caves, definitely bear dens and coyote. Again, knapsack. Again, let's talk about this just for a second here. That the reason to me that Daniel was able to talk, and this is my own speculation, that he was able to say what Jack had on, and Lily for that matter, because to me, I wouldn't doubt it that these children went to sleep in what they were wearing that night before, if you believe that the children didn't disappear sooner. But if they didn't change their clothes and say Jack had on pull-ups, even though at 4 years old, I guess, but whatever, that he could probably describe that, because that's probably the clothes that they were in already from the night before. That would make sense, right? I mean, not to say a 4-year-old can't start dressing themselves, because some have the ability to do so for sure. Definitely a 6-year-old can. But his probably diaper would have been loaded from the thing. But another thing that got me too, though, was that they said that if anytime they kind of got mud or water on their boots, like they're back inside type of thing. So that seemed a little strange in saying that. Like my son, whenever he had to go to the bathroom, freaking all his clothes came off. It was just like one of these things that sometimes people have these oddities that they do, or little quirky things. I'll say like that. Isn't there a waterfall? I'm not sure. On there, what did you say there, Kent? Yes, definitely in that area, but it's on what I would say is eastern side of the 104-mile highway, and the Weakness Pit is on the western side of the highway. But yes, it's in an area called Pleasant Valley. Oh, you must have been okay. It depends on your number of I'm just going to check my Gmail again. But yeah, so let me, just to say this again, Kent, no email is coming from you to crimeandshame@gmail.com. Just saying, in case you think you did. Some people always, for some reason, spell it wrong or something. Yes, there's been waterfalls along the river for sure, not necessarily close to the home, but I suspect that river because it's the one that flows into the East River and West River. Hey, you're talking about Jack and Lily, right? When you're talking about this, just to be clear, talking about Jack and Lily? Are you talking about Dylan? And McKay family lives where? I just want to be clear on that, just because I was talking about both cases. And because I'm not familiar with your guys' area. Okay. The driveway comes off of 289 highway, which is the highway that travels through Lansdowne and down through the Stewiacre, the old way on there. Okay. Either which way, I need to get going here. I need to go grab a parcel and I need to go see my sister. Yeah. On there. So yeah. Even though I could sit here for hours still talking about stuff on there. But okay, so with that being said, you guys, I mean, this live is already, oh, look at that. We're literally at the 3-hour mark. Hopefully this live, like I said, brought you the information and the up-to-date information that came out today, brought awareness to Dylan Ehler's case, as well as Jack and Lily's and Sebastian Rogers. So with that being said, I'll probably, let me see. I might do a live on Saturday, and see if Charmaine or even if Melissa, I'm not sure if she's up for it or something like that. But I want to give appreciation. So I gave out 5 memberships today from the channel. Well, YouTube really did it. They just give it to the channel so that we can pass them on to you guys. So 5 people got those. So again, that just lets you use the emoticons and lets you not have any slow time or slow mode on. And Miss Dog Lover, a long time, and not the longest, but I thought she was, because Stepha's 35 months. But Miss Dog Lover did a donation today of £49.99. She's a very dear friend of this channel's and that. And again, if anyone's from the area wishes to join us up on a live and talk about the case, feel free to email at crimeandshame@gmail.com. All I'm going to ask is, I just don't want no loony bins emailing me. I just want normal people that have normal discussions and talk about a case. Trust me, a lot of loony bins out there. But anyway, so if you do, feel free to email me. Other than that, and if anyone does have any up-to-date information that they do care to send, again, send it to crimeandshame@gmail.com with regards to that. If anyone comes across something, not gossip, okay, not gossipy crap, just stuff that's true. And again, anyone wants to go check out Daniel Martell's channel, he has a YouTube channel. It's from Pokemon from 4 to 5 years ago. You can listen to his voice more so there in a more natural environment, besides obviously interviews where someone is a little bit more in panic mode and stuff like that. And that counts me out. I have to go. And anyways, you guys, thank you guys for hitting the like button, continuing to share and cover the cases as well. You guys have a good rest of your day, and it's been a pleasure. And with that being said, prayers, of course, to Jack, Lily, Dylan, and Sebastian Rogers in conjunction with this live tonight. Okay, guys. It's like I don't want to go, but I know it's like 3:21 here, and I gotta go grab my parcel, and I gotta go see my sister. I'm gonna make her make me dinner. That's what I'm gonna do. Then I'll give her stuff I bought her for free on there. Take care. Thank you so much. Thank you, DDC Canada. All right. And just finding my outro. Scrolling. There it is. Bye, guys.
A Norfolk night, the world is cold. We stand surrounded, we are not alone. Within my reverie, there's is holy.